Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, and Joe Dehls. And this is now episode 282. In this episode, we're going to do an NBA mock draft of the lottery picks, give recaps to game ones, and talk about more draft-related topics. Episode 282. We're getting closer and closer to episode 300.
Yes, sir.
And we might be live in Las Vegas for that one.
Potentially, maybe. Who knows?
Putting that into the universe, huh?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't gotten no tickets, no flights. We're just saying shit.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We'll be there.
Dope.
Yeah. Have you guys ever been to Summer League?
No.
Never been to Vegas.
I've been to Vegas.
Oh, I've been to Vegas.
Yeah.
It's viral. It's fucking viral.
I've been to Summer League one time, but I made the mistake of going later in Summer League, and I missed out on watching all the top prospects.
This is a great year to go to Summer League.
Oh, no, I'm lit. I will get Eamon's autograph.
You gonna dap him?
I'm going to dap him and talk to him.
That'd be cool.
Look,
They're having
Jesus Christ.
they're having this thing called NBA Con now at Summer League,
Saw that.
where you can get autographs from Victor
wait.
Wembanyama, Scoot, and other players
All day.
potentially.
Yeah, I don't need that one. I just need.
Who?
What do you mean?
I don't need Victor's autograph.
Why?
You guys will get it.
Why
He
are you
becomes
that
the
way?
second greatest
I
basketball
need
player
my
of all
guy
time.
autographs first. Eamon Black. I can say that.
He's saying Anthony Black.
Yeah, Anthony Black.
Oh,
Yeah, look
okay.
at you.
I can
Wow,
say
that's
that.
My boy Jalen Hood. I'm being there too and getting my guards, man.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get a Victor.
You just
one at the
have a
end.
thing for guards?
Yes.
Just small
A lot of
guys
good guards.
who could
A
ball
lot of good
handle.
guards.
Bad guys.
Bad guys. Yeah, I mean,
'cause you're a bad
figures.
guy.
100% a bad guy.
Yeah, we know.
Hood is 6'6". Big size.
He's a tall dude.
He is.
I don't understand why he's not higher on people's boards. I was just telling you this, man.
Playmaking is streaky.
You're a point guard and you're not a good playmaker.
He's a combo.
It's just a combination. Not to be.
Now, before we get started, we have some big time news that's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to be going live on playback to watch the EuroLeague Final Four. The Final Four is going to be Friday and Sunday. Riv and I will be live. If Drew and Dehls wants to join, they're more than welcome to join. But for those of you that do not have an ESPN Plus subscription, you won't be able to watch the event unless you have a EuroLeague Final Four day pass. And right now, Playback is giving us about 10 plus codes for you guys to have it and watch the stream for free. So if you guys are interested in getting one of the codes, then DM any of us and we'll shoot you one of them, or DM the Pick a Side podcast page itself, or just drop in the YouTube comment section down below if you'd like to watch this event and watch the Final Four tournament, and we'll comment right under your comment the code to give away to you guys.
Can't wait to watch Rudy Fernandez.
I can't wait to watch Sasha Vezenkov.
We're doing some extensive Kings scouting.
Okay.
Are they like stashed?
He's stashed for the Kings. So
Yes.
we're locked in.
Yeah. Sasha Vezenkov, he just won EuroLeague MVP. I mean, he's a guy.
Mirotic is over there, right?
He is over there.
That'd be nice to watch him play again.
Nikola Mirotic.
Love to
He's
watch
good.
Euro ball. A lot of fundamentals.
He plays on Barcelona, right?
He should. Isn't he from Spain?
Yeah, I was gonna say because when I was over there in Barcelona, they had his jersey over there.
Oh,
Retired.
wow.
Yeah, no, not retired. I mean, he's actively playing.
Go.
I thought you said fire. That's what
No,
you
I
said.
thought you said retired, right?
Is that 4
did
tomorrow, you said? 4 Eastern?
I don't know what time it is. I
Oh,
can
it's
check
11
that right
a.m.
now.
Oh,
It
Eastern.
is.
yeah, won't be able to make that.
Why?
Wow.
I have work.
You can't just jump in with your phone?
Maybe for a bit.
You're a hater.
Let's see what I can do. What?
Nothing. You pissed
So
me
the
off, guys.
Friday schedule is 8 a.m., then 11 a.m., and Sunday it's 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. But this is all times Pacific. All times are Pacific Standard Time. So I'm not sure what it is Eastern Time.
Is it 8 a.m. Pacific, 11?
It says
Eastern?
8 a.m. and it doesn't say like
I'll be
ET or
honest.
anything like that.
Oh.
If it's
I was
8
saying-
a.m.
8 a.m. would be 5 a.m. our time, right?
Whoa.
Dude, good math.
Or no, the opposite.
Hopefully it's not that
No.
early, but
Yeah, the opposite. 11.
If you guys
So it's
are
8 a.m. over there, it's
interested-
11.
Yeah.
if you guys are interested, in just comment and we'll send you guys a code to watch the Final Four.
Pretty
Now,
God, it's
Dehls,
not
you have
8
some Boom Fantasy
We
picks.
do. We got
Let's get right into it,
We
man.
got game 2 of Nuggets Lakers. Game 1 was magnificent. I mean, the Nuggets
So
went
good.
out big. Lakers made that crazy comeback.
Eh.
Made that switch with Reuinion Jokic, and Jokic was in hell. So for game 2, anyone specific you guys are looking for? You're looking for Jokic lines? Maybe I'm assuming Rui's gonna be guarding him, right? It
Yeah,
worked
yeah.
so
Well,
well.
What's
How
the
does
what's
he
the
not-
Jokic line? What's the points right now?
Right now, Jokic's at 28.5 points,
Oh, yeah.
14 rebounds, 10.5 assists, 53.5 PRA.
Listen,
3.5
right here,
turnovers.
Dehls. I'm taking under on all that.
Everything.
The Lakers found a perfect defensive scheme to shut down Jokic and the Nuggets. And I feel very like Drew. Drew said he felt very comfortable and confident after the game 1 loss. I feel it too. I'm feeling that Lake Show energy. And I think that the Lake Show, they found a recipe to stop this team. And I think I feel Lakers in 5 now. That's how confident I feel.
He's chasing the shit out
After
of
a game 1 loss, I'm feeling Lakers in 5.
Can you tell me some MPJ lines? I'm feeling real good about MPJ.
6'10". He is at 15.5 points. He's at 14.
Got little man Reeves on him.
6.5 rebounds.
Now,
2.5
isn't playing
threes.
defense on
23.5
He was a little bit.
when they would switch, but really, that's not his matter.
Doesn't really matter.
It's KCP, and KCP was doing his thing.
He was.
Missed him every day, man.
Is he going to do it 2 times in a row? Probably not. Probably doesn't have
He
it
was
in
playing
the
good
You
series.
just said they had the key. 15.5 points, 6.5 boards, 2.5 threes, 23.5 PRA.
I'll go the over on his threes and his points.
What is the threes? I'm sorry.
2.5.
Okay.
Over on his, so he'll hit 3 threes for me and he'll get over 16 points. I think MPJ is gonna have a big game, man.
You know, not having to rely on Joel. Let me just look it up on my phone myself.
I'm locked in. Give me another one. Shoot some more.
So someone
No Laker lines. I
I
don't
was
want
gonna say,
nothing.
someone
No
had a
Laker
big
lines.
game. We got Aaron Gordon up here.
Jokic
KCP,
rebounds.
Bruce
Lock.
Brown.
That is
Jeff,
a lock. I
Jeff
told
Green,
you.
4.5 points.
No,
Okay.
I'm
Just,
good off that.
0.5 steals.
No.
Bruce Brown, 0.5 threes.
Yes, I'm taking that again. We're gonna go. Yeah.
That's a good bet. Jokic's rebounds is at 14.
Who's guarding Bruce Brown? It was D'Lo, right? Get him out the fucking game.
I think it was D'Lo. Yo, D'Lo's defense really is horrendous. It really is not good.
Yeah. So I'll go MPJ
Still
over
loading.
points, over threes, and Bruce Brown over 0.53. That's hilarious, but
Okay.
we're gonna stick with it.
I also see LeBron and AD both are at 25.5 points. Who do you think scores more?
Listen, go to over on that. Both. They're
Both
gonna
of
have
them?
Yeah.
This guy does not care about people's money, even though I don't disagree. However, this guy's not here being serious, and it's honestly
He's
you're
jinxing
doing
you.
the fans a disservice.
It's on my Lake Show.
They need your
My
true
Lake
analysis,
show. Oh
bro.
my God, we've officially heard it all.
You're a prick. So what I'm gonna do is, I think Schroeder's gonna get a good amount of minutes. I like Schroeder over 4 assists. It's 3.5 assists. I like him to get 4. I like Jokic's rebounds. 14 rebounds. That means he needs 15.
At 14 in the first quarter, right?
Yeah, it was insane. Riv, I like your lines, honestly.
I'm a good guy, bro. I've been killing lately.
You're having
FYI.
called the Tatum 51 point.
I'm just your best
Performance.
man.
Take it easy. I don't know if he called 51.
No, I
He
called
was the
like
only one who took the
35.
over on the panel here.
He was. I'm
John
not
said
gonna-
you're being cringe.
I'm being cringe.
Yeah, with the Lake Show. Yeah. John's he's not with you today.
It takes one to know one.
You know what? In D'Lo comeback game, that's what I'm feeling.
What?
D'Lo,
Come
14
what?
points. Comeback.
Wow.
On the road.
I said what I said.
Cool.
14 points. That's all he needs.
Got it.
He's doing that easy.
Sometimes players say it's easier on the road.
D'Lo said that?
Not D'Lo, but I've heard players say that.
Well, D'Lo said that Minnesota to Lakers, he feels so much more comfortable.
Yeah, he's
So-
yeah.
And the stats since he said that, he's been horrifically bad.
Well,
He averaged 9 points.
We're in the Western Conference Finals, so
Yeah.
he can say whatever the fuck he wants.
Not
to
wrong.
his credit, his best game is at home against the Grizzlies. He had 31.
He
Is
played
that-
well
that-
against you guys.
That wouldn't be to his credit though.
Oh, because he was
What?
saying he plays better on the road.
No, I'm just saying sometimes players
Oh.
say it's easier
No,
on the road.
he had a good game against the Warriors. 21.
facts.
It was at home.
Okay.
He had 4 at home also.
Got it.
I don't know what to tell with this guy.
What's his line?
Cold.
I just-
It's 13 and a half.
13 and a half.
He just
for
needs
D'Lo.
14.
13 and a half is
like
a
D'Lo
low
could have
line,
4,
but
he could
D'Lo
have
might not play
25.
much in this series.
We had 26 minutes. That's enough time to get 14 points.
Did
for a
you
player
see
like
Mike
D'Lo.
Malone trying to add fuel to that fire
did.
by saying that, hey, there's an interesting storyline going on there. If D'Angelo Russell plays or he doesn't, he's been playing phenomenal. I don't know if he's going to play moving forward.
No, I think he'll definitely get minutes. To take him out of the rotation
Why
completely
did
is not
D'Lo
in
play
our.
41 minutes in Game 6 against the Warriors? Y'all were beating the shit out of us.
I don't know. I don't know.
Emptied the bench and he was just the one
To
person.
be
that
honest
made
with
it
you,
out
bro,
there.
we didn't take our starters out until like 3 minutes left in the game.
Oh,
Now listen, tell me, Dehls, are the game 2 ECF lines out
They
yet?
are. You interested in that as well?
Yes, let me do that. That's going to be my 3-leg parlay right
You
there.
need to throw in some for tomorrow.
Because we know Lakers going to dominate game
Jimmy
2.
Butler, 28 and a half. What's your opinion on that?
Listen,
Talk to me.
if they made the proper adjustments, that's an under for me.
Okay.
But I don't believe in Missoula. So let me just I'm gonna stay with Jimmy Butler at this point. Right now, I'm gonna stay away from him.
Bam had a big game yesterday.
Yeah,
he's at 18.5 points. He was very aggressive, finding his shot, going right after Rob Williams.
Let me look at the Celtics. Read me Celtics lines right now. All right. You know I'm going with the C's
your
right
favorite
now.
player of all time, Jason Tatum.
Okay.
He's at 29.5 points, 9.5 boards, 5 assists, 44.5 PRA.
Okay, listen.
He gets a lot of rebounds.
Jason Tatum, I'm going over on the rebounds. 9.5 rebounds. I think he has 10 or more.
Jaylen Brown's 24.5, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 34.5 PRA.
I don't feel comfortable in either one. The points one is the only one I feel comfortable in, but I don't. So read me some more.
All right. Any of these role players stick out to you? Smart, Rob Will, Al,
Marcus Smart,
Derek White, Brogdon. Marcus Smart, he had 10 assists in the first half and only 1 in the rest of the second half. He had 13.5 points. These are the lines. 13.5 points, 6 assists, 22.5 PRA.
I'm going to go Marcus Smart over 13.5. That's what I'm going to go with.
I don't mind that.
So I'm going Tatum rebounds over, Smart points over, and I need one more.
Who do you want? Derek White, Rob Will. That two big lineup wasn't great for the Celtics.
No, not at all.
Al Horford, though, he is at 7.5 points, 6.5 boards, 16.5 PRA, and 0.5 turnovers.
6.5 points for Al Horford. That means 3 threes. Can he get 3 threes?
Derek White, 8.5 points.
I feel like they were hunting him game 1. So
He was in foul trouble, but I don't know, man. I feel like 8.5 is disrespectfully low.
You know what? I'll do 2 Boston, 1 Miami because I think that's how I have to play it on Boom Fantasy regardless. So Miami, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Give me some of these role player lines.
Kyle Lowry's at 10.5 points. He's at 3.5 rebounds.
Derek White's at 0.5 blocks.
Yeah, I'll stay with that. Well, what's his assist at?
4 assists.
I'm going Kyle Lowry assist.
Derek White?
0.5 blocks.
He did get a block last game.
That's what I'm going. I'm going with Tatum over rebounds.
9.5.
9.5. I'm going with Marcus Smart over points. And then I'm going with Kyle Lowry over an assist.
What about Gabe Vincent, 10.5? Is that intriguing?
I don't trust him.
All those role players at 15.
He's been doing his thing.
Max Strus
I
started
don't trust
cooking
him.
up, boy.
Whenever
you know
I bet
guarding
on
him?
Gabe Vincent, he's never hit.
Max Strus? Nobody, honestly. He was getting wide open looks.
Yeah.
In the third quarter, at least.
Pick and roll. You know who's in the pick and roll?
You're
Tatum.
saying, oh, okay.
Yeah. You guys need to get better as a unit.
Okay. You got bounced in the second round.
We beat you.
I don't care about a championship last year.
You
not
can't
even
care
a
because
little
it's been a minute for you
Not
guys.
even a little bit.
Now, today we are going to do an NBA mock draft. Just the first 14 picks, the lottery picks.
Sorry, before we move on, just so you guys know, we're doing the MLB The Show giveaway tomorrow. Will be put out on the pick aside. I finally got the depositors. I got everyone's emails. So tomorrow I'll be announcing it on the pick aside account. And of course, download the Boom Fantasy app. It's in the description, code PAS. Get those numbers up, man. Franchise tag.
Now listen right here. We're going to do the mock draft lottery edition, but I think it'll be a disservice if we don't talk about at least game 1's briefly swift through it. Okay. At least give it 5 minutes of showtime. I think
this guy does not give a flying fuck about me.
Now,
he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. That's why I said let's start the show.
Would you rather talk about the game 1s or the mock?
I got to do the mock, but obviously I want to talk about everything.
Now, Drew,
I'm on a constraint.
Now, Drew, game 1.
I'm crying.
How do you feel? Because you told John before the show that you were smiling after losing.
Yeah.
You were so happy about how the game went, you started smiling.
Okay. You know,
and I
give or take a few words.
Yeah, because, our Lake Show, they pulled out together in the fourth quarter.
Our Lake Show.
We all picked them to win this series. Our Lake Show pulled out that fourth quarter was amazing. So, Drew, how do you feel about that game? And tonight's game 2, this is probably going to be out after the game's over, but, how do you feel right now?
I still feel really good. You mentioned it. I was smiling after game 1, obviously, exaggeration there, but realistically, to come back from 21 down, to get within 3 on the road in a game that it looked like, hey, we're just going to roll over. No, we never did that. We never, at any course in that third, fourth quarter, decided to take our foot off the gas. We kept going basket for basket. They kept scoring. Our defense, as great as it's been this entire postseason, they were doing whatever they wanted. Jokic had Anthony Davis in hell one-on-one, which is what I was saying. I did not want that matchup. I did not want AD to play one-on-one, but it was understood it's game 1. You feel it out. See if you have an advantage there. Clearly, we did not. Jokic was doing whatever he wanted, whether it was in the perimeter, down low. He was just unbelievable in those first 3 quarters. But we kept coming back. We kept putting up buckets. towards the end of that fourth quarter, we started to finally get some stops. We made an adjustment. Put Rui on Jokic now. Anthony Davis becomes the roamer, which is what I mentioned on the last podcast. I want Anthony Davis as that roamer, sagging off Aaron Gordon or whoever it's going to be, maybe a Jeff Green if that's the adjustment they decide to make for game 2. And then it allows now where Jokic, if he wants to get into the paint, now he's met with the best shot blocker in the game, Anthony Davis. And it proved to be successful. I believe the points per possession when Anthony Davis was playing against Jokic was 1.55, something stupid. That is just, and that's basically whatever Jokic wanted to do, he did. But then when Rui took over, his points per possession dropped to, I believe, 0.6 something along those lines. It was a great adjustment by Darvin Ham, one that I wish we would have made a little bit earlier. But putting Schroeder into the lineup wasn't the bad idea. Putting Schroeder into the lineup, but also starting D'Angelo Russell at the same time, that's where it started to get a little bit out of hand. We went a little bit too small when realistically we need Rui in this lineup to be effective. We need Vanderbilt to be in this lineup to be effective. And in this series specifically, I'll favor Rui because he provides us with some offense, and we saw him have success against Jokic defensively. Is that sustainable for an entire series? I don't think so, but the whole idea is to make him uncomfortable, limit Jokic, because if he does what he did in those first 3 quarters, the Nuggets will win this series. However, for us to go down 21, for us to have the rally that we did, their defense is not that good. The Nuggets defense is not good, and I'll trust my Lakers defense before I trust the Nuggets defense because that's what they've shown us basically the entirety of the season. We can give respect that they played well defensively in the first 2 rounds, but against the Lakers game 1 in their home court, they did not look good by any means. And if your argument is going to be, oh, well, is this offense sustainable for the Los Angeles Lakers? If you want to say that, fine, but there's no way we play as bad as we did in those first 3 quarters defensively. So, yeah, I feel optimistic. It's a game 1. You know, the anti-Laker fans are going to come out and use game 1 as a, oh, my God, you guys got smoked, 21, you guys lost. How can you feel good? I feel good because it's a game 1, and it's a series of adjustments. And Darvin made a great adjustment that almost ended up leading to a stealing a game that ultimately they ended up taking, that the Nuggets ended up winning. And you take that on the chin, I believe that we would lose game 1 anyways. Game 2 will be ours.
What bothers me a lot about how the dialogue after game 1 became what it became is that it was a good adjustment. I think it was one that could have happened at the beginning of the game.
Sooner.
But that is not going to stop the Nuggets offense. And they're going to have so many counters for that. Like just bringing up AD on ball screens, or just instead of having Aaron Gordon in the dunker spot, have him in the corner, having Jeff Green in the corner pocket so there's just more space on the floor. There's just a ton of adjustments for what that's going to be that I just don't believe that hanging your head on one defensive coverage is going to be the way to win this series. If it's a multitude throughout the game, then I can see it like that. But what's been bothering me a lot about how the dialogue is after game 1 is that all everybody's talking about is how, wow, the way this people talking about this series, you would think the Lakers won game 1. Denver won game 1, and I understand the fourth quarter the Lakers won it, but we're talking about 3 quarters of dominant Denver basketball. It was in transition, creating turnovers, offensively not being able to be stopped. People talking about Anthony Davis is the best defensive big man in the league. Jokic was cooking him left and right. I think regardless of how this series goes, Jokic has earned the right to be the best player in the world. That's the level he's playing at right now. We'll see what he continues to do throughout this series. But everybody's just talking about what the Lakers can do, and nobody talks about what Denver can do. And that's been bothering me. Even on Draymond Green's podcast, it's like he's the Lakers head coach out there. He's just talking about.
Don't even get me.
He's just talking about Lakers adjustments perspective.
I like that shirt
let me ask you. The shirt is fire, very fire. Let me ask you a question. All these things the Nuggets can do. You're saying that you can put Gordon, you can put Jeff in the corner. I'll tell you what, if Jeff Green's on the court, that's a W for the Lakers.
That's unfair.
And if you want to do that to Aaron Gordon, which is what they did, but Gordon can't shoot and started to miss, so you realize, okay, we have to put him into that dunker spot. Now Anthony Davis is in prime position, even more so. If there's more that you want to say, but that's my rebuttal to that.
That's
so you're telling me
to what?
Because I think and I agree with a little bit with what Joel's saying, but I think more of it is.
And so do I.
I
agree with some of what you're saying.
People aren't letting Malone make his adjustments. Like we saw the Lakers make adjustments, which is fair. But people aren't allowing Malone to now, okay, The Lakers made their adjustments in the fourth. We kind of know what you're going to do next game. Let Malone make his adjustments, see what he's going to do.
Fair.
People are kind of making it seem, not saying you.
No, I got you.
People are making it seem like, oh, the Lakers figured it out. No, Denver gave you that game one. You kind of figured that out. But now let's see what Denver adjusts in rebuttals to that. Yeah. And I think that's where the unfairness is coming from.
Well, I think there are more ways than just putting him in the corner. For one, Jokic can make a pass in a dunker spot pretty consistently. And if AD comes in to help, that's a pass that will be open, and Gordon is a great finisher around the basket. But if AD is not going to be guarding Aaron Gordon, then he's free to set screens around the court. So now you can set screens onto these defenders on the wings, and now you open up shooters. And that's another way you can combat that adjustment. So that's why I think it's unfair that everybody's just talking about, oh, yeah, the Lakers have figured out this master plan.
That I agree with.
It's just over. I think it's going to be a series where both teams are going to constantly give out punches, and we'll see who's left standing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all picked the Lakers show to be left standing, and it's probably going to be the Lakers show.
I did think Denver was going to win game one.
Yeah, so did I. And I think on the other side of things, the Nuggets defensively cannot allow LeBron to keep switching on to Jamal Murray.
No.
Like,
shit was
that's
hilarious.
just we saw it a lot in that Lakers series. We saw it even some in the Grizzlies
That was
series.
food.
LeBron is just gonna look for the mismatch, look for the small guard that he could go into the post and just dominate. The Nuggets can't allow that because it's gonna be a 30, 25-point game from LeBron every time. I thought a lot in the first half from the Lakers was effort, and it just looked like they were dead out there. The Nuggets played with all the energy. Of course, you have the crowd there, the home court advantage, but they came out and it looked like a regular season game in November. There was no urgency there. Jokic was playing one of the best quarters of basketball you could possibly imagine.
AD quietly had 42.
Yeah, and AD it almost felt like a quiet 40 because Jokic was just dominating. And even defensively, he was great, especially that first half. The fourth quarter, of course, to make the adjustment. And we know the adjustment. I think that's the advantage Denver has is they know the adjustment the Lakers are going to have. The Lakers don't know what the counter is going to be to that adjustment. I said this series is going to go 7 games. I think the home court advantage is going to play a big part. I have the home teams winning every single game, and then that 7th game is going to be the sign factor.
Now, and also the LeBron hunting mismatches, I think the fix for that is just go under LeBron's screens. Go under these screens. Shoot. Aaron Gordon's trying to go over every screen, even when the screen is set at the 3-point line. I'm going to let LeBron shoot that.
You saw Jamal say it when Jamal was switched on to him. He's like, go back, and Gordon's staying there.
That was the thing. Schroeder had a problem
was on one too.
Schroeder had a problem on the under end because they had him going under screens for Jamal, and he was looking at them like, this is not working.
And that was the adjustment. Schroeder said something to the sideline. He just kept going right through him, and that really Schroeder, where the big adjustment was Rui, Schroeder's ability to go through screens also ignited that comeback in the fourth.
I will say if the Lakers did complete the comeback, it would have been a demoralizing loss for Denver.
100%.
But the fact that Denver held on to win the game, yes, you have to learn from it, but it's not. I think they're still in a prime position.
And another thing that
took the lead.
Last thing I want to say, and we can talk about the Celtics and Heat game, is
we could do the draft next. Just so
everything went right for the Nuggets. Everything went right for the Nuggets in those first 3 quarters and even the start of the fourth quarter. They hit every ridiculous shot. They were making every wide open jumper. They were making contested jumpers. KCP couldn't miss. Jamal couldn't miss. The one right before the third quarter ends where Jokic is off 1 foot, step back 3, splashes it. Jamal Murray right in LeBron's face where LeBron just kind of gives him a thumbs up like, hey, you make that shot. I tip my cap to you. That's a solid shot. But everything went right for them, and the Lakers were 1 shot away from that game. So I still feel optimistic, and that's mainly why I feel optimistic. Everything went right for the Nuggets.
The Lakers also in the second half at one point were 18 of 23 from the field. So like the second half they were not Yes, you were getting good
easy looks,
but you're also not going to shoot.
I agree.
That is,
I agree with that.
So we're not going to talk about my Heat.
Well, listen. First of all, Drew has to bounce it a bit, being respectful of his time. We had to mention our Lake Show on the show.
That I appreciate.
We had to.
See, the thing is, Joel, I understand what he's doing, and the fans they're gonna want me to react to Joel saying my Lake
not reacting.
Show. But when you know who you are as a man, you feel very comfortable in what's going on. You let bygones be bygones, and
we're under the same beliefs, brother.
And the real come out on the end.
Just the disrespect towards my Heat, man.
We'll talk about them once Drew leaves. We'll give, the Celtics a majority of the blame for that game. My goodness.
Not Missoula.
Now, NBA Mock Draft 1.0, this lottery edition, just the first 14 picks. Now, we had already decided before we went live or before we started recording the show who will get the first pick? We're giving it to our brethren Dehls. Dehls has the first overall pick.
Shout out to the Spurs, man. Are we doing music?
Yes.
No, don't do the music.
What the fuck?
It ruins the TikTok
Bro's a
edits.
big music guy.
It will be unable to be posted on TikTok if we do the music.
Why?
Because the sound is in the way, and then when you do the cuts, it's gonna sound horrible.
Or you just don't announce your pick until the music stops playing.
I'm not the editor. I have no say in that.
I am the editor. So
there you go.
Yes.
Spurs won the lottery. First pick is Victor.
Please add some energy
analysis.
to
that. First pick is Victor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to say. You saw someone asked him, "How'd you get the nickname Wemby?"
No, I just saw him. The Rockets get 4, and he get excited.
Yeah, facts.
That was
And I saw the Spurs. He was geeking that the Spurs got the first.
There's
pick.
really no analysis needed here. We've been talking about Wemby for years.
You
we knew this was gonna be the pick.
I kind of forgot, but like my top 5 list of preferred destinations. Number 2 is the Spurs. That's basically number 1 because number 1 was the Mavericks and they had a long shot.
Holy
so my
shit.
number 1 was actually the Spurs because they had a realistic chance of getting Wemby.
Why do we allow this?
It's a fact.
Why, Riv?
And even if
I'm
you
talking
don't,
to you
even if
'cause I
they're
feel
not
like you
my
and
number 1,
Mabel-
it's number 2.
Wasn't he on Bleacher Report? He said he want the Rockets to get 1.
Of course, which I
Yeah, for personal agenda purposes, but I said my top 5 preferred destinations. Number
Isn't
2,
preferred destinations is personal preference?
Number 2 was the Spurs.
Wasn't
number
that
2 was this?
Is he just
Number
looking
2
out
was
for
the
Victor,
Spurs,
you
yeah,
think?
for sure.
He's just like,
Number 1 was the Mavs.
Wait,
number
wasn't
2 was
3
Spurs.
Houston?
3 was the Rockets or Hornets.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was the
probably the
Rockets.
Rockets,
4 was
to be
Hornets.
honest. There was
5
no
was
the Hornets.
Pacers. Don't disrespect me. Don't disrespect me. Now, number 2 overall pick. Now, this is where things get interesting because I think this is where the draft can either take a turn or we can go with consensus right here. So, Riv, I want you to select the 2nd overall pick. Something so challenging.
Man,
Talk to me because I know who your number 2 player off the board is.
It's tough, man, because I've seen a lot of stuff that says LaMelo and Scoot can play together, but then I've seen some stuff where people are not high on Brandon Miller. I'm gonna go Brandon Miller.
Bro, what happened to Amon?
No, Amon to Charlotte? I never had Amon to Charlotte.
Bro, you told me that Amon's your number 2 guy. That's
Doesn't
why
mean
I'm
I had Amon
wondering.
to Charlotte.
Oh,
Nah.
okay,
I'm gonna
okay.
go Brandon Miller here. I think as much as I do love Scoot, I don't like the possibility of LaMelo sharing the backcourt with another ball-dominant guard. And I think pairing him with guys that are around, like his height or taller, would make the lineup much better defensively. And then Brandon Miller can come and automatically be a catch-and-shoot player, can be a guy who can spot up from 3, can give you that type of defense on the wing. And he just complements LaMelo so much that I really want him with Charlotte. So I will go Brandon Miller here at 2.
Okay, understandable.
There's been a lot of reports recently that he's been interviewing bad and he's not in the best of shape.
Do you think you take that over just best player available?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, I think this one. Like if Scoot gets picked at 2, I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't mind Brandon Miller here. I just think he fits truly perfect to next to what LaMelo's going to do, what he needs to do.
And that means that number 3 is getting an absolute steal. And that's going to be the Portland Trailblazers. And there's been a lot of conversations recently today.
Let me ask you, since you're the GM, are you trading Dame after you make this pick?
So we were on BR, and there's no better time to trade Dame because you get your point guard and Scoot Henderson. That's literally, it fills in perfectly. And now it allows you to build for the future. You're going to get great compensation for trading Damian Lillard. When I saw the report was the opposite the morning after the draft lottery, I was kind of shocked because they're saying they want to go all in, which I believe you will get a very good package for that number 3 overall pick. With that being said, I would be one of those that if there was any time to trade Dame, this is it. Because you're getting Scoot Henderson, a point guard that you can trust to be your franchise point guard for the rest of, for the time coming, especially moving on from Dame. There's a little bit of a blow, easing the blow there. So for number 3, if I'm in Portland, yes, I will be selecting Scoot Henderson. I believe that this is the number 2 prospect in the draft. The one thing that he does have to work on is his shooting, but other than that, everything else, he is an amazing prospect. He can make the best in this class for sure. His ability to get to the rim, his athleticism. He's just a little bit undersized, but still is a pesky defender. I'm going Scoot, no doubt about it, at number 3.
The 4th overall pick is where the draft's going to take a turn.
Well, I like how you did this for your Rockets.
The Houston Rockets got the 4th overall pick.
I was real. I was like, I know I'm going to make this 3rd pick.
Scoot, Brandon Miller off the board. The Rockets need a point guard. You look at Amon Thompson, he's hyper athletic.
He's there.
He's 6'7".
For sure.
25% from 3, not impressive.
No.
20 years old, going up against high schoolers in the overtime elite league.
He played grown men before.
Do I trust overtime elite league? Do I trust that league? I really don't. So you know what? I'm gonna go long.
Here we go.
And I'm selecting Anthony Black with the 4th overall pick. I think he has natural feel as a passer. He's a great defender, and I think the Rockets need a floor general. And I'm going Anthony Black.
No, I did it.
I'm going Anthony Black for the Rockets.
This is the first time in years he's given me no indication he was doing this.
Because Anthony Black, with respect, listen, is he a better shooter than Amon? Not that hard. Amon shot 25%. His splits were, 45, 30, and 71 from the free throw line. He's probably a better playmaker. But other than that, Amon's athleticism, I feel like that's where you have to lean upside. I like Anthony Black as a prospect as well, but to take him at 4, I think that's a little bit high.
Is falling.
But I get where you're coming from. The Rockets need a true playmaker, and that is Anthony Black.
When did he face grown men?
It was he played overseas before one time, and then he played in like you know that league, that like the TBT league. You know what it is?
Yeah.
You sure?
I have an idea.
Okay, yeah, he played it. His team over the what's the name team played in it.
I understand the critique, and I know people are going to say Anthony Black is a reach at pick number 4, but the pushback I'll give to that is Amon Thompson feels like a player that he gets to Houston, and it's another player who is going to have an insane ego with these Rockets players, and I feel like the Rockets already have a plethora of young players that are trying to showcase themselves. I trust Anthony Black going into the situation and playing a role over Amon Thompson. And I think Anthony Black, his upside to me is like a Josh Giddey, somebody who's a floor general. His jump shot is kind of funky, but I think it can develop. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's still a great defender. And his passing, his vision on the court is one of the best in his draft. I say Scoot's number 1. Second is Anthony Black.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the floor general point guard over Amon.
This is tough. We got the Pistons at 5. You got Amon, who could go as high as 2. But you already have the 2 guards. You have Ivy there. You have Cade there. Cam Whitmore is always on the board too, who's
Make it easy.
more of a wing.
Riv, what are you doing?
So maybe
Pistons. I want to make sure he does it. He's getting red.
Fits the team better. Who would you go with here, Riv? Would you just go with you have a crush on the Pistons, you have a crush on Amon, so this is kind of the perfect pairing for you.
I wouldn't put Amon here.
So you would go with Cam? Would you go in a different route? This is your Pistons, so I don't really feel a certain type of way.
No, go ahead. I want to see if you make a right pick. You're getting red. Don't get nervous.
I'll be honest. I've got sunburned in MetLife yesterday. That might
you did?
65-degree weather. I was cold and got sunburned.
Can't say it.
Be respectful.
I think I'm gonna go with the fit here. I'm gonna go with Cam Whitmore.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm gonna go with the wing,
you know what?
6'7".
Dehls, you just don't give me casual vibes.
I'm gonna go with the wing,
miss.
6'7", 232. He's 18, right? 18 years old, Whitmore.
Yes.
And he's 230. So like he's got some grown man strength, some grown man body on him. He could defend, create his own shot, and he kind of just fits this team better.
If I said that Amon was the most athletic, I made a mistake because it's Cam Whitmore. The man can jump out the gym. Listen, Amon is athletic, no doubt about it. He's a fast guard. He'll probably be that hybrid. But Cam Whitmore, that dude is insane.
I guess I got the magic here.
Facts.
Amon is a no. You do not put him in Orlando. No jumper.
Last thing they need. Let me see, bro. You have to impress me here.
Why not?
Because they need jump. They need
no
jump
space,
shooting.
no floor spacing here. I mean, it's intriguing. The lineup is already big. You know, you got Wagner 6'10", Boncaro 6'10". Their backcourt's a little streaky. None of them can shoot in the backcourt. Fultz can't shoot. Suggs' offense is non-existent.
Body.
Cole Anthony is a 6-man.
Yep.
Wendell Carter, but Amon falling at 6 is something Orlando probably doesn't see coming, which makes their board a little tricky here.
Don't force it.
You have to.
No,
I'm going Amon here at 6. I'm going Amon here at 6, man.
Bro said you can't draft Amon, and then you draft Amon.
You have to. I just think he falls here at 6.
I just don't see a world where this happens.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? This is the world.
It's Riv's world.
I don't see a world where Amon falls to 6.
No, I don't see a world where it happens either. That being said, if you're the Magic,
you have to.
You need the jump shooting.
So who do you take? Nick Smith?
Taylor Hendricks crazy at 6? It really isn't that crazy.
If I'm flying on Taylor, I'm just going to bank on Amon.
I get it. But if Amon and Taylor's there, you got to go Amon because of the upside.
If I'm selecting...
You need shooting for the Magic.
If I'm selecting a shooter with the 6th overall pick, I'm selecting Grady Dick.
That's not a bad pick.
Not bad.
I can probably get him at 11, though.
You probably could get him at 11. That's the luxury of the Orlando Magic.
Maybe not.
Well, we're about to find out. Indiana's up, buddy.
All right, Indiana.
Time for Coach of the Year Carlisle to make his pick.
And this is where Taylor Hendricks comes off the board because they do need a wing player.
You stole my.
Hey, listen, man. You gave me that option. I was thinking you were gonna go Taylor Hendricks because of the conversation that we've been having. But Indiana could use some wing play, especially he's playing off of Tyrese Halliburton. There's no better point guard to get him in his spots. A guy offers you size. Is very athletic, solid shot blocker as well, rim protector. Probably play that hybrid of that 3-4 will provide that type of versatility to your defense. So I'm going with Taylor Hendricks at
Washington's like
7.
the easiest pick right now.
Washington Wizards have the 8th overall pick. Now, this is a weird team because I feel like they have a solid player everywhere, but they just don't have any star power.
You didn't give me any backlash for passing on Osar.
At Indiana?
Just because they play not similar positions. Obviously, Hendricks is a little bit taller.
Mathurin, Hield is there.
Correct.
I ain't mad at it.
But Osar's going to play the facts.
I look at the Wizards. Bradley Beal, Kuzma possibly is back or he's gone. It depends. But even if he's gone, I think they start Corey Kispert at the 3, Kristaps at the 4, Gafford at the 5. So right now, the biggest two biggest positions of need is point guard and a center that's not just somebody that can play rotational minutes. And I think they need someone that's steady. They need someone that can defend. They need somebody that can space the floor. And I'm going to go with a very wizardy pick, and I'm going with Cason Wallace here.
Oh, okay. All right, I like that.
I'll be honest. I was looking at them.
I was going to say,
Jazz.
Yeah, Cason to the Jazz. Right?
I was like, damn, that's a good fit. The Jazz, I mean, the only 2 spots you're looking at as solidified, you have Walker Kessler, you have Laurie. Outside that, you could probably use another wing. You could use a guard.
Use some dick.
Could use some. Bro, what's wrong with that?
That's just funny.
He's talking facts. Could use some dick.
You could use some dick, but yeah.
Grady. At Danny Ainge is at the helm. You know, Danny Ainge has
Utah, Grady.
Grady Dick does feel like a Utah type player. Maybe I'm just thinking because of Laurie, but I think right now
or just because he's white.
It's probably that too.
1,000%
It's probably just Jarris Walker's there too, but
you can go. I don't think Utah can go wrong.
I would say Utah because All-Star dropping would be ideal to them.
Jarris or Grady Dick.
Yeah, you could really go anyway. I think Danny Ainge is going to go with the shooting, though, and you have the 6'8", the long wing defender, or not wing defender, but long person and Grady Dick, and hopefully down the line he could, maybe build on his frame a little bit. Shot 40% on 6 attempts per game. He's a knockdown shooter. I think Danny Ainge is going to.
And he's somebody that he's an all-around player. I think he's shown flashes of playmaking and passing, and he's somebody that I don't know if I'm getting too carried away, but. Gordon Hayward comps, it could be there.
What?
Is it because? Never mind. You fucked me. You
fucked me.
I'm sick you took Cason. I would have loved Cason to fall to the Magic, but you're saying that you were going to take him at 9, so I don't feel too bad.
So 10th overall pick, the Dallas Mavericks. Riv, who are you going with?
All-Star has fallen to 10.
Yeah.
And they need a defender. Jarris Walker is also here that can fit the 4 spot. Jaden Hardy's there. I don't see a point of picking up Keontae George. Jordan Hawkins is there. They do need more shooting, though.
Okay.
I'm going to go Jarris Walker here.
Okay.
I'm going to go the guy who can defend 1 through 4. He fits perfectly. He played role in Houston. He was perfect in that role.
Jarris Walker.
Yeah, he can defend
well. So All-Star
is still on the board. Okay. And Orlando would do it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just letting you know Orlando would do it.
I can't say that I wasn't thinking at least Jalen Hood, Schifino, just for the fact that you continue to add guard depth.
I'm assuming Kyrie comes back.
Now you get a guard. Say that one more time? No, this isn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking for me.
Got it. No. I'm talking about Orlando strictly. Jalen Hood, Schifino is definitely one that I'm looking at because you drafted Amon here. Amon does not provide you that shooting. I look at Jalen, and Jalen, where he's not the best 3-point shooter, he is an elite mid-range shooter, especially off the pick and roll. The one thing you do look at is probably could use a little bit more of his playmaking, as Riv and I were talking about earlier. But when you have Markelle Fultz, and now we have Amon Thompson as well, those 2 guys are primarily going to be the facilitators of the offense. I just can't pass on Osar. The fact that Osar is here, You add a little bit more wing depth, especially with the fact that you have at the 3, you have, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. You have Franz, and then, of course, at the 4.
Big
yeah, at the 4, you're going to have Paolo, and then your 5 is Wendell. Now it allows you that flexibility. If you want to play a little bit smaller of a lineup, run Paolo at the 5, run Franz at the 4. Now you have Asar at the 3. There's a lot of things that you could do with this lineup. Now you have Eamon and Asar, the twins together. That's something that's exciting if you're the Orlando Magic. I kind of got blessed.
So Asar Thompson.
Yeah, no, Asar going to 11. No, Phil. He went crazy.
He started the
trend,
went
crazy.
Bro. He fucked
Anthony
the whole
Black
draft.
Yeah,
he fucked the whole draft.
I respect it.
Anthony Black guy.
I don't think it's a bad pick.
Rockets fans.
I don't think necessarily either.
You know what's funny? That Rockets fans right now, I follow a big Rockets page. His name is Bias Houston. And right now, all he's doing is starting Eamon Thompson propaganda.
There's a few of them doing it, yeah.
The entire Rockets Twitter, they are hell bent on getting Eamon Thompson right now. 12th overall pick, OKC Thunder.
Interesting.
Now, man, this is an interesting team right here.
I have no idea where I would go.
Josh Giddey, SGA, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams. You're going to get back Shet. You know, I think they have enough guard play. Agreed. I do. I think I look at the players available right now.
Tell me you're going
Nick
here.
Smith, Jordan Hawkins, Keontae George. I don't know if they're guys that I go with. I'm very low on Nick Smith Jr. Jalen Hood is good. I'm a big fan of Jet Howard's game. I am. Okay. His floor spacing ability, I'm a big fan of his game. But you know what? I'm going to go with a big man here.
Well done.
I picked
well
him.
done.
Are you going where I think you're going to go?
Who do you think I'm going to go?
I went GG.
You went GG?
I'm doing like my own. I went
okay,
GG.
I have Lively here.
Lively's not a bad picky, but that's him and Shep.
I'll be honest.
That's why I have it for you. Have both the two types of centers that you could have.
I'll be honest. It's between Lively for me and Noah Clowney. That's the two it's between. And I'm going to bank on upside, and I'm going to bank on Derek Lively.
I like that a lot.
I like that.
Is that 7-1?
Yep.
Big guy.
And he's an elite defender. It's just his offensive game is not existent.
7'1", 230. He's a big dude.
He's got some meat on him, too.
For sure.
Enough.
Sorry, 13th pick, we got the Raptors. And right now the Raptors have a lot of questions. Their backcourt, Gary Trent and Fred are both free agents. Their front court is pretty set. Jakob is a free agent too, but they just traded a first-round pick.
He's going to come back.
You think he'll re-sign there. And then, of course, you got Scotty and Pascal finishing up that front court. So their front court's pretty solidified, barring them completely blowing it up here. I don't know where Fred goes. Don't know where Gary Trent goes. They could resign. They could go elsewhere. But
one of them will be a Laker.
In the world, of course, in the world that one of them leaves, I think you need a guard here. And there's one I'm looking at that's available from Michigan, Kobe Buffkin. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Buffkin from Michigan, sophomore. 35% from 3, 6'8" wingspan. He could play both ends. He's a good defender. He could pull up, can finish at the rim. I saw he's ambidextrous. I don't know if he's just a good finisher with both hands or if he actually is. But I think they have to kind of start rebuilding that backcourt, and he'd be a good start.
So you would go Kobe? I went KG.
Yeah, okay.
I ain't mad at it, though.
Jalen Hood-Schifino would be the only one that I think about, too. Just because, again, I said earlier, I like his attributes. 6'6", also at the point guard position. That's a team already that has a lot of size. But this is not a bad pick by any means.
Oh, this is my go.
The last pick.
It is last pick.
The Pelicans.
Pelicans are a very, very interesting team.
Do right for the team that was supposed to get Victor Wembanyama.
They have C.J. McCollum. They have Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram.
You hate their whole team, basically.
You do hate the whole team.
90% of their team. But I do acknowledge the fact that they have a pretty good team. Lively fucked me because he would have been the perfect slide-in big right here. If he would have fell, Valanciunas could take a bye-bye.
Keontae's still available?
Yes.
Keontae's available, but I'm going to go here and take a more established sharpshooter. And I'm going to take Jordan Hawkins at this pick.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to just go in and bring a guy who's an established shooter. He doesn't come in with the hiccups. He's not going to come in and force shots. You don't need to really fully develop him into the shot maker.
You think about Chris Murray or no?
I think about it, but Jordan can space the floor and he can defend at an okay level. Nothing too crazy.
I was going to say, I think Chris's offensive game's a little bit better, more refined.
Yeah, Chris is a good player.
Yeah, he is.
But I'm going to go Jordan Hawkins
I like that.
To recap our NBA mock draft, lottery picks only. Jordan Hawkins, 14 to the Pelicans. Kobe Buffkin, 13 to the Raptors. Derek Lively II, number 12 to the OKC Thunder. Asur Thompson, number 11 to the Orlando Magic. Jarris Walker, number 10 to the Mavericks. That's an excellent fit. Grady Dick, number 9 to the Jazz. Kaysen Wallace, number 8 to the Wizards. Taylor Hendricks, number 7 to the Pacers.
My dog.
Amon Thompson, number 6 to the Magic. Cam Whitmore, number 5 to the Pistons. Anthony Black, number 4 to the Rockets. Scoot Henderson, number 3 to the Blazers. Brandon Miller, number 2 to the Hornets. And number 1, Spurs, Victor Wembanyama.
Love it.
You always just got to throw a wrench in there and just...
This is like the second time he's done this.
Right?
Hey, listen. And a couple years back, when we're looking at Anthony Black being one of them guys...
That's how I felt about.
I thought Black would have Black going to Washington or Utah.
Way different.
Black at Utah, I need it.
Y'all remember my first mock draft, man?
You don't think that he goes to Orlando, number 6?
Orlando? That would be cool too. I said I want him in Utah. Like I personally want him in Utah. Something about Utah.
Like he did something weird with the NFL mock. But I
Who,
don't
me
know,
or him?
No, I took Bijan number 8 and it was right.
Oh,
facts.
He did cook with that.
No, you took Jalen Carter, number 2.
Oh yeah,
maybe that's what it was.
It was Jalen Carter, number 2, over Will Anderson. Well, he's going to be a better player than Will Anderson.
100%.
Especially
he's on the best team in the league.
He landed in Philly. That's a good, good
course.
starting point.
Jalen Carter, what can I say?
So you're in?
On Jalen Carter?
Eagles.
No, Dallas is going to be the number 1 seed.
They're fucked. I'm just letting you know.
Well,
They're fucked.
We'll see what happens. Anything can happen.
No, nothing will happen.
I mean,
the
Predictions
reality
not been
hits.
made yet, Dehls.
How do you like my picks, bro?
Respect
I went crazy.
Dallas.
Orlando's. I'm an Orlando fan.
Oh, I'm all in. Amen. And also,
No, wherever they go, I'm just letting you know that.
I was
more
texting.
teams will be added.
That's
to
how I'm with Taylor.
I know that Pierre is an Anthony Black fan, so I was texting him during the mock draft, and I said Anthony Black or Amon, and he said depends on who's drafting, but Amon has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
I said Rockets if it's them drafting. He said Anthony Black is going 4. That's a guarantee.
He's going for?
No, he said he isn't.
He isn't
going
for.
Yeah. He was like,
I agree.
I believe that. I think
Amon has a higher.
They're
ceiling.
definitely going to go with high upside, but this is my preferred.
No, Black has a better floor. Like Amon is really dependent on where he goes. He has him and his brother has the biggest, highest like boom or bust. Ideal would be San Antonio. Unfortunately, it won't happen.
The good thing is that he'll be paired up with Ime Udoka if he gets drafted to the Rockets.
Yeah, anywhere with a good coach, good development team.
Question though, because if you're going to consider Anthony Black, I get it, but would you go safer floor if you're Houston? Can you afford another risk? Not that Anthony Black is. I mean that in a Kaysen Wallace sense.
Houston just got Ime. I think Ime
at 4, that's extremely high. No doubt
think personally,
about it.
Ime will go the defensive route, and Amon is a better defender than Black.
For sure, but that's why I say Kaysen, because Kaysen, you could argue,
Kaysen's ceiling isn't as high. He's more of a floor.
That's why I say he has the highest floor.
Yeah.
If you're the Rockets, can you afford another risk? Not saying that Amon's a
4
huge
is
risk.
nuts.
Yeah, no, crazy.
Like beyond good.
No,
like,
I'm not disagreeing. I only say that because we're having conversations about Anthony
I couldn't even
Black.
say the word.
Because we're having conversations about Black. I feel like people are torn between Anthony Black and Kaysen. I think it's understood that Anthony has the higher ceiling, but sometimes it's safer to go with the higher floor, especially if you're a team. And I only say this for our sense because we have Anthony Black here at 4. With the Rockets needing a player that has a higher floor, is that even a consideration? That's the only reason I beg the question.
Yeah, I look at Kaysen Wallace as like more Marcus Smarty, where he's very valuable within the team construction.
Got it.
And I look at Black as like he's like an all-star level type of guard.
Okay.
So
I
would probably go
I'm
Black
not against
over
that.
Kaysen.
I look at Kaysen. I love his skill set. I think that for the fact of his size, his ability to defend, very high level.
No, yeah, he's a great
His offensive game is all right. He's a very solid playmaker. Not a bad shooter. I think 45-35 splits. That's very firm. But I think for how great of a defender he is, I think that between Anthony Black and him, it's definitely a conversation.
Yeah. Kaysen Wallace to me just feels like...
Are you going to say Davion Mitchell?
Yeah.
Okay, I have
a taller Davion Mitchell.
Okay, I think his offensive game
Younger,
is better, though.
So he'll probably be better.
His offensive game is better, both scoring and playmaking.
Davion is last year in Baylor.
But Davion's defense
Davion was much older.
is better. Facts.
Yeah, but Davion's last year in Baylor, the scoring he showed was... They were comparing him to Donovan Mitchell, which I always thought was...
But we don't even know what Kaysen Wallace is going to be at 23 years old, you know? So
yeah, I'm with you.
But just right now, he just feels like a role player guard to me. That's what he is to me.
Okay, that's fine if you feel that way.
I think Black is like I said, Josh Giddey, that's my comp for him. I think both of them have very similar skill sets.
And I like Black, too.
Yeah. Do you?
I do.
Good.
You beat the allegations.
Now, that's going to do it for our mock draft. Now, Drew, It's 5:41, and he has to go.
I do.
Out right now.
He's gonna have not a bad thing. Going out to dinner with the missus. She's taking me out as a graduation gift. We're going to the Chart House. It's gonna be pretty late.
Beautiful.
Gonna get wine drunk, no doubt about it, and watch my lake show after.
And then do what?
Hey, wouldn't you like to know, honey? All right, I'll see y'all.
Now filling in for him, he's tag teaming John.
Nuts.
Sorry?
He's tag teaming John.
Love that.
Here comes this guy.
Nothing like a good tag team right in the middle of a show. Look like Matt and Jeff.
I'm downloading this image. I'm gonna post it on our Twitter right now to see what they think of it.
Dude, thanks, man. Same to you. I know you need it.
John took a picture of your wall and said,
I just saw that, yeah.
Your wall is shaved.
It's crazy.
I am crying.
Only thing that would have made it worse if Darius Garland jersey was up there.
Damn.
He's already got a better player.
You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. I'll be honest.
Got a better what than Harden?
Who?
He's losing me. I'd be honest. I'm not saying
Darius
it.
Garland?
Please. Ignore him. Ignore him. Just ignore him, please. Please.
On the scale, Harden's negative.
He did. Garland was the only reason for one win. Respect him.
Harden won 2.
You
No,
heard
I'm
what
not
John?
comparing.
John just said by
default.
John just said by default Darius Garland has a better
Please
playoff
take that up
resume
with John.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if we want
than
to get
James
into it.
Harden.
All right, here we go. Hey,
How you
John.
doing, fellas?
How are you, John?
I'm solid. That's really ugly, though, up there. I mean,
Soft,
well,
you said?
No, ugly. The James Harden jersey in the wall. Like, what are we doing?
You think it's a nice one,
That was
though?
embarrassing.
It is a
Nice
nice
color.
I guess we're talking about him tonight, but golly.
Golly.
Are we talking about him today?
Sadly.
Talking about it very, very briefly when we talk about the Rockets and their draft selection.
Yes. That's what we're doing.
Now,
Still recording, by the way?
it is still
I
recording.
just want to make sure.
And now,
Welcome back,
Dehls.
John.
Toward the rim.
Now, Dehls. Celtics Heat.
Loss.
I mean, how do you feel about game one? Just y'all keep losing these game
You
ones.
got no teams left, bro. You're rooting for the third in the league.
I'm a Heat fan. Bam.
Game 1 wasn't the ideal start to the series, but we also lost the first game last year.
You guys
Lost
did
the
a
first
lot.
game in the Philly series. The Celtics, I said in my analysis of the series, they don't make anything easy. And the Heat make everything hard, and that's what we saw. The Celtics were up 9 going into halftime. They were up 12 at one point in the third quarter. The Heat came roaring back. Bad offense by the Celtics, turning the ball over, missing open shots, and Miami just offensively were hunting mismatches. They were hitting threes. They shot 52% from 3 this game. For the Celtics going forward, I really don't think it's rocket science what has to happen. I know my good friend to the right of me, Joel, thinks this is a Joe Mazzulla problem. And, of course, Mazzulla blames partially. It's his fault. But a lot of this is on the players, man. They got to get this shit together. You can't allow the Heat to go on these runs, to keep turning the ball over, especially if you want to move over to that fourth quarter where there's a couple minutes left. The Celtics cut it to a 5-point game, I think at one point even a 4-point game. Tatum has multiple turnovers where he just travels, and all of a sudden just the lights get too bright and he just looks completely out of it. But I think for going forward, Rob Williams comes out of the starting lineup. You put Derek White back in, who defensively looks like he almost lost a step than what he did in the regular season, especially these previous 2 rounds. I don't know. He looked great against the Hawks, but against Philly, he wasn't that good defensively, and in game 1, he wasn't that good either, especially when you have Jimmy Butler pointing you out, taking you down to the post. Derek White's not going to be able to win that matchup. But I think for game 2, Derek White comes back in. You have better spacing. That's something that I think Marcus Smart was talking about, how in that third quarter, the spacing, they just kept stepping on each other's toes. The spacing was bad defensively. We talked about how terrible that was. But more than anything, I don't want people to get just overwhelmed or just put all the blame on Mazzulla when everyone went crazy because third quarter didn't call a timeout. There was a media timeout, I believe, at the 6:30 mark of the third quarter.
78.
Yeah, it was. I think it was actually tied because that was right after Jimmy Butler had the and one tip in. It was 78-78 with Butler going to the line. After that, the Heat went on a 24-13 run. So that timeout to get everyone together, it didn't happen. The Celtics, the same shit happened last year where they were winning the first half against the Heat. Then the Heat in the third quarter went on a 39-16 run in the third quarter. It's really the same exact shit that happened last year. This is why I didn't pick the Celtics in 4. I didn't pick the Celtics in 5 because they have these lapses in judgment and they have these inconsistencies where they're not locked in defensively. And when they're not locked in defensively and they're not getting stops, it's hard to score in a half-court setting, especially against this Miami Heat defense. So I think going forward, just about being locked in, they'll be able to make adjustments, but I'm still taking the Celtics in 6.
You know, I think the Celtics will still ultimately win this series. 6 games is a good prediction. The Miami Heat shot 52% from 3. Now, will that happen again? I said it wouldn't against the Bucks, and then it continued to happen. but I kind of have more faith in the Celtics for this hot shooting to stop happening. And, for what it's worth, I know my friend John here loves to ride on Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau limited Jimmy Butler for those 6 games. Their players didn't shoot as well as they did game 1 against the Celtics. I'm starting to think maybe Mazzulla should take a little page out of Thibodeau's notebook and start throwing different looks at Jimmy Butler. We need more double teams. The fact that he was getting any switch he wanted was bizarre to me. I think at all times it has to be Marcus Smart, Tatum, or Brown guarding Jimmy Butler. And this is the key to the series. We saw Nikola Jokic say in the second round to the sideline, they only have 2 players. The Heat only have 1 player. I don't give that respect to Bam. Wild, they don't. It's not the caliber of Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. No way, no how. Well, it's not.
They're irrelevant.
It's not. They're better than Bam Adebayo all the time. What are you talking about? They're irrelevant.
Well, Bam and Jimmy are in the ECF. Who cares who's better?
Kevin Durant got a championship too. Actually,
stacked him.
Devin Booker win the finals, his first playoff run. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, it was fraudulent. Oh sure, I guess it was.
You like
fraudulent.
to mention it.
I
guess it was
Golden
fraudulent.
State, Jimmy and Bam have won more playoff series.
We're here, John. I needed you.
So does he have a championship? Does he have a championship?
Does Devin Booker have a championship?
What do you mean not yet? This is never going to happen.
Does Devin Booker have a championship?
He's going to get one.
With Kevin Durant? I seriously doubt it.
But don't you think a lot of Jimmy Butler taking a step back in round 2 was because of his ankle injury in game 1?
I think that it still would have affected him in this series too.
Because Thibodeau is not going to let him go off. I want to ask you the question. Why is Grant Williams not in the rotation?
I would love to. That's the one thing I've seen that I have no idea what the fuck Joe Mazzulla is doing.
Is he injured? What's going on?
Grant is fine. He played even some minutes in the Philly series. He's been in and out of the lineup really all season. The second half really going on. That there's games where Joe Mazzulla seems like he's in the doghouse for whatever reason. I mean, this year he hasn't been up to par of his last season, playoff run. But Payne Pritchard, who really has not gotten any sort of consistent minutes damn near this entire season, to just throw him in a game 1 against the Heat and say, this is what we need, makes no sense to me. If you want shooting, you want offense, I will go with Sam Hauser, just because he's a better 3-point shooter. He's actually had consistent minutes, at least in the regular season, and even some in that first round against Atlanta. And he's bigger, and he's not obviously a great defender by any means, but at least he's not fucking Payne Pritchard, who's like 6 foot out there, who's just going to get targeted by Miami. I have no idea why Mazzulla went with that move.
I have no idea either why. Grant Williams has to play heavy minutes this series. He has to play starter minutes this series. And I think, listen, Dehls, you have been defending Mazzulla. I understand. Because as a Celtics fan, you've seen this Celtics core go through 2 head coaches now, Brad Stevens, Ime Udoka. So I can understand why you were tired of the blame game, but the lack of adjustments from Mazzulla are evident. The in-game management is a problem. And then Grant Williams not playing is an issue too. There's no reason why he should be in the doghouse given what his skill set is.
The rotation's questionable. I thought in the fourth quarter the Celtics were getting good looks. I mean, they outscored the Heat in the fourth quarter. It was just that third quarter. I do think the other issue is Mazzulla used 2 timeouts in the first quarter. In that third quarter, I want to say we only had 3 remaining. You know how much he loves to keep those timeouts, especially he hasn't used his challenge yet. You want to have at least 2 going into the fourth quarter. But I have no explanation for the rotation. And they asked him after the game, or the day after, they asked him today why Grant didn't play, and he just basically avoided the question and said, like, Grant's always ready to play. Like, that's basically what he was. Yeah. I mean,
you guys actually outscored them in every single quarter except the third.
It's the same thing happened last year.
In the first half, the Heat didn't look like the Heat. They were turning the ball over. Defensively, they were getting beat on every drive. It seemed like the Celtics were able to get to the rim at will. So not only were the Celtics not great in the third quarter, they didn't look great game 1. The Heat in the first half didn't look great either. They went to the locker room, tightened it up. There's no, as much as we like to blame Mazzulla, there's not going to be a moment where he outcoaches Spo. It's just not going to happen. The Celtics are going to have to win this series player for player by their players just being better than Miami, which they are. But in this game, there's just something about this Heat team where they don't waver. They don't lack focus. You know, they come together as a unit and they just battle back. And they were down 12, 13 points. They didn't rattle. They got back together. Max Strus hit some shots. Gabe Vincent hit some shots. Kyle Lowry was big for them. And they got back into the game. Jimmy Butler, Bam, and they started to get going. And something about this team and the cohesiveness of this team that it just doesn't rattle. The confidence is at an all-time high. And you like that from a team with limited talent because you have to do something to outweigh the talent, and that's their confidence. And I think Boston didn't necessarily play a bad game. They were just pretty inconsistent throughout this game. You know, you mentioned in the first half they looked great. Marcus Smart was hitting dime after dime. Rob Will looked good. Tatum looked good. They looked really good in the first half. You thought it was going to probably be a blowout. You thought this was going to be a game one Boston blowout. Then in the third, Miami came out defensively. They crunched it down. Offensively, they got it going. Bam came out firing. He was aggressive early. And that's how Miami's going to have to win this series. They made mistakes in the first half. They didn't make many mistakes in the second half. And I said it. They're going to have to win in the margin. They're going to have to get every loose ball. They weren't going to turn the ball up. They can't get beat on every fast break. They have to be pretty much perfect to beat a talented team like this. And in that second half, they were pretty much perfect. And that's what you love to see from the Heat. I just think, you know, Mazzulla got a lot of the blame, but you got to look at the players at one point. You can't blame Mazzulla for Tatum traveling the ball. You can't. You can't blame Mazzulla for them switching on every single guy. At some point, you're looking at Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum. Marcus Smart is a defensive player. At some point, y'all got to be like, yo, we can't keep switching and letting Brogdon and White get cooked. At some point, it has to be the players that come out and sit and we said the same thing with the Bucks with Giannis and Drew Holiday. At some point, y'all got to say fuck what the coach is talking about, and y'all got to come on the court and y'all got to be like, yo, we can't keep letting this happen. So Mazzulla gets some blame. You know, he's not the perfect coach. He's a rookie coach. But sometimes you got to really just look at the players, and I think this game is specifically on the players.
And to go off your point, I just think the Miami Heat are a more resilient team. And that's not a shot at Boston because
they're probably the most resilient team in the league.
Miami Heat just beat a number 1 seed in 5 games, regardless of injuries. And when you look at what Bam did against this Boston team, I think the Miami Heat are a way tougher matchup for Boston than the 76ers were because we saw, especially in Game 6, Joel Embiid drop coverage, Lane Tatum get going. But with this Miami team, what they're going to do, just like Philadelphia, what they've done against them in the past, they're going to try to run them off the three-point line, but they're so connected defensively, you're going to beat Bam in the mid-range area, who might be the most versatile defender, if not in the NBA, in the Eastern Conference especially. But I also think for Boston, because you played this team 3 times in the postseason, the players are used to Jimmy and Bam. But I don't know if Joe Mazzulla has as much of an advantage as Spoelstra because he's been at command for all 3 playoff runs. Whereas for the Celtics, it was Brad Stevens, then Ime last year, and this year, it's a third coach. And look, I do agree with you. Jason Tatum just has to play better, and he will. I'm pretty confident in that. But I actually think there's a difference that doesn't get talked about where Ime Udoka was more hands-on. And I felt like when things were going south, he was able to kind of snap the group back in place because he was more on the ball, a lot more disciplined. And I felt like he held his players more accountable than Mazzulla, who's less experienced and also is more hands-off because he's younger than Al Horford. You know what I'm saying?
My rebuttal to that is this exact same thing happened last year in the third quarter where they outscored us by 20.
But I think it's like that's pretty bad in game 1 too.
I'll be like,
that's why it's like I get the whole Ime stuff, and you could continue your point, John. But we've seen the same shit. Brad, we were blowing leads, we weren't being focused defensively. Ime, we were blowing leads, not being focused.
It's the same players.
That's why, yes, like Mazzulla deserves partial of this blame, but this is a Celtics team that's been to the ECF 5-6 times. They went to the finals last year. Like, I know Tatum's 25 and JB's 26, but these are veterans. Like, these are guys that have made deep playoff run after deep playoff run. They know what it takes to get to the finals now. I don't think we could just be like, I can't believe Mazzulla allowed that shit. Like, nah, they got to put this shit together.
Yeah, the young shit is
fair
done.
Enough, but I feel like Udoka's personality is a better match then for the Celtics team than Mazzulla. Am I alone in that?
I mean, they're not as vocal. The vocal leaders of this team are Smart and Horford. Your stars, Tatum and JB, are more reserved. They're not as outspoken.
Listen, I think you're right, but where I'm going to disagree on is that maybe on a night-to-night basis, the Miami Heat might be a more resilient team. I think the Celtics, and this is what I think drives a lot of their fans crazy, is that when it's a regular Game 1 game, the effort's not going to be there for all 4 quarters. But when it's a closeout elimination game, when their backs are against the wall, that's when that team comes out. And we'll see in this series when the Celtics' back is against the wall against the Heat, they'll outshine them 10 times out of 10.
And they what's even more just infuriating is every time this happens, whether it was against the Hawks, whether it was against the Sixers this year.
Game 2 is a blowout.
But I feel like
the players have come out and said we cannot keep just putting this like lackadaisical effort out there when there's no pressure, and then once there's pressure on us, like you said, just outshine the other team. This has to be the same sort of focus. You have to think you're down 0-3 when it's 0-0 or you're up 3-0.
That's how I think how Miami thinks every single time they get on the floor.
They have to because they're not as talented.
Boston, as talented as they are, they don't think like that all the time. Miami thinks like that every single time they get on the floor.
That's why this is going to 6. Celtics favor.
Listen,
and also down the stretch, Tatum has to be like every single time in that fourth quarter, Jimmy Butler was taking the ball up the court and he was getting to the action. On the opposite end, Jason Tatum, I know he had 0 shot attempts. He got to the line 2 or 3 times, but he was 6 free throws.
6 total.
Yeah, he was not initiating the offense like we saw in that third quarter against Philly. Yes, and that's why I'm like, JB, I love you, bro, but this is why you're not the one on this team. Everyone wants to tell you the one. This is why it's Tatum, because he reads the court better. He's a better passer, a better playmaker, and a better shot maker. Well,
you said they're going to blow them out game 2?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I'm taking the spread. Sorry.
We were minus 8.5.
Hey, they did their job. They stole one. That's their job.
So. Miami's undefeated.
The Heat aren't going to continue shooting 50% from mid-range. They're 11 of 16 to start this game. I think the three-point shooting is a little bit more sustainable at 40%, but they shot 50% from 3, whereas the Celtics shot 34%. We're going to see a lot of shooting.
Man, we keep saying Miami can't sustain this, can sustain that.
Year, man, I felt like last year the Celtics were a better team, and all of us were favoring the Celtics, and yet the Heat still took it to 7.
And I think this Jimmy Miami Butler 3 away from
exactly. I think this Miami team is better than last season.
Without Hero?
With it, because Hero last year was hurt, and he gave him nothing in that
series.
he's
been hurt back-to-back times. That's kind of crazy.
But last year, it was in the second round where he got injured. This season, you have Kyle Lowry. He only gave you one good game in this time around last year. You lose Oladipo, but then you add in Kevin Love, who adds more three-point shooting, and Max Strus is maintaining that level of play. Duncan Robinson, if he gives you some, that's an add-on because he doesn't give you in transition at the rim, but in defensively, what Strus can add. So I feel like Miami just has more continuity. Their bench is slightly better. Caleb Martin this year, you can make the case, has been better. He's been one of the best reserves this year. And honestly, Joel, I mean, I think you and many people have underrated this Miami bench. From the time I told you in the Knicks series, they're going to outplay the Knicks bench, you said no way.
They have like 2 players coming off the bench.
Exactly. And so the Celtics.
I think
No, that's bullshit.
No, he gets like 6-8 minutes.
He gets like 6 minutes.
I think this bench can play pretty close level of the Celtics reserves with Brogdon and White. I don't think they're going to be that far off again.
I think you're undervaluing Victor Oladipo's contributions to last year's Miami's team.
Well, there's no doubt.
He was a big part. He was a big part of Jason Tatum not playing his most efficient basketball, and Jaylen Brown. Yeah. They cannot replicate that elite defense that he offered last year. I don't think this Heat team's better than last year. I think they just called it lucky stretch that they continue to be on. They're not making the finals. They're not making the finals. I'm telling you, not making the finals.
I think Kyle Lowry's more valuable.
Because he's putting this out into the universe. He's the one.
They beat an 8th seed, yet they're lucky.
Who's more valuable? Oladipo in the series last year or Kyle Lowry in this series?
Well, we have to wait and see. I would say Oladipo. We have to wait and see.
Yeah, we have to see more.
Oladipo last year.
Lowry was dog shit though last year.
It's funny how Joel went from Celtics getting cooked by the Sixers or the Nets. Now that he hates the Heat and the Celtics, it's tough times for you. You got to pick one.
I picked the Celtics last series to beat the Sixers in 5 games.
Is that, hey, look, if the Heat win, he still can clown Dehls.
I don't remember this.
I beat the Celtics to beat the Sixers last series.
Oh, because I think Embiid was hurt. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Because Embiid was hurt.
I picked Boston to beat the Sixers, so now you're wrong right off the bat. So I'm just talking about from an objective perspective. I think that your fascination with Jimmy Butler, your fascination with Spo and his story, I think your fascination with this Heat team has you thinking they can go to the finals and maybe even win a championship. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
3-1.
It's not going to happen. They're not making the finals, and they have no chance of winning it all.
Stop.
No chance.
Stop cursing us.
No
the whole
chance.
Video collab of you when the Heat do win it, it's going to be crazy.
They have no chance.
I don't know what he is sipping.
John's right, though. It's a win-win because if it does happen and we lose to the Heat, Joel could be like, oh, my God, you lost to Caleb Martin and Max Strus.
Oh, yeah, he's going to cook.
Do you change Jimmy Butler? Do you change Jaylen Brown? What do you do? Just I already know, man.
I mean, you know for sure that he's not making the finals. Let's stop playing over here. Let's please stop it.
I have my prediction out
Let's please stop it.
I'm not.
So you had the Heat before the series winning.
I had them in 6 personally.
You had the Heat in 6.
A respectful 6. I think the Celtics have a great chance.
Because I know you have a tendency of saying things on the show and saying something different on your show.
Flip aside protege.
Because he wants to take a picture of the James Harden jersey on the wall. Hilarious. I was watching the clip of his show. He was praising James Harden. Oh, if he accomplishes Game 7, he's going to be all time.
John, he got you.
I didn't say that.
He's lying?
Yes.
Bro, his own co-hosts are like, John, pick. What are you doing?
Sounds like you with the Lakers Nuggets.
I'm telling you, man, this guy.
Joel, the theory of James Harden actually getting to the finals and winning would be similar to many other past legends. Like, think of a Dirk. If you get a championship, people kind of just get rid of the playoff choke artist narrative because all we're going to remember in 25 years is that he won a championship. I mean, think of like Gary Payton and Jason Kidd. They didn't win championships at the end of their days, but we don't put them on that list. If John Stockton won a championship with the 2003 Spurs, he would not be on that list, and we wouldn't really remember as much, as vividly, those playoff downfalls with the Jazz, because what we're really going to see is, he's got the championship. That's what I say.
Did you ever, at any point of your existence, think that James Harden is capable of winning a Game 7 closeout like that?
I had never seen it before. I had to see it. And then
Joel didn't believe it.
So if you already were on the side of I'm doubting this guy 95%, throwing that theory out there into the universe is wild for you to say.
3 of 11.
So to even say, this guy maybe he can do it. If you don't think he can do it,
it was just about the championship. 3 of 11 though this time instead of 2 of 11. So we're making some progress.
2 of 11. What you mean?
That's when he went against the Warriors in 2015.
Oh.
And then 2017 versus the Spurs when he lost versus.
When he got blocked by Manu Ginobili?
Yeah,
I remember
that. Yeah, so we just forget about
right?
What?
10 turnovers.
I think it was 12 in one of them.
Yeah, it was a record. Yeah.
Right.
Dog shit.
I know. John likes to pick and choose the players he bullies. James Harden is one of those players that he's not fond of. His playoff resume is not excellent. And it's an all-time underperformer. Yeah, I guess so. But then, players you root for underperform. It's because he was tired.
It's
because he was injured.
Right?
I understand.
Garland?
He always talks like Garland. He's 22. We'll see what he does.
No, bro. We was talking about when Jimmy Butler underperformed in the first round versus the Bucks. Yeah, and he said it's because he was tired. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Keep the same energy.
They did beat the shit out of the Heat, though.
It's because he was tired.
Beat the shit out of them this year, so that's all I can say.
That's true.
But now make the finals anyway.
Heat just fucking lose in the play-in,
like they were supposed to, right?
But then the Bucks would probably be.
Bucks look easier for you guys.
They do.
Giannis missing 13 free throws and shit.
Yeah. Because we know how to guard that. Like we go with the 2 big, and that's really our best lineup.
And he's just.
Dehls, I just don't know why you're not confident in your basketball club. What you mean? You're not confident in the Celtics, man.
Listen, I picked the Celtics in 6. I'm still standing on Celtics in 6, but I don't think Mazzulla is by any means like a top 10 coach, top 5 coach, anything like that.
He's probably bottom 25.
I just feel like people who forget what the Celtics have looked like for the past 4 years and are just looking at this team and be like, how is this possible? And then you look at the bubble and you look at last season and you're like, oh, the Celtics are doing the same shit the Celtics have always done, where they have easily the more talented team, or even the most talented team in the NBA this season, I think, and they're just lapses in judgment and lapses in defense, and they're allowing teams that aren't as good as them beat them. We've seen this shit for years. Like at some point, especially when you've gone through 3 different head coaches, you have to look at the players, and Jason Tatum, who's at an MVP type level, and Jaylen Brown, who we say is the second best or the best Robin in the NBA, and Al Horford, who is a great against Embiid, and Marcus Smart, who just won DPOY last year. At some point, it has to be on them and not the coach just calling a timeout to get everyone together. No, it's on the players.
Spit.
Before we go on to the next topic, we're going to give the Steelers record prediction.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, that's a big reason why John is here is because John is going to give his Steelers prediction.
Shout out resign Mitchell Trubisky,
record
man.
prediction.
Better save some money on that.
And I'm not
for Lawson.
I'm not sure if as each win or loss we name, if you should just keep the count up, because I think once we get into that below 500 range, John's just gonna rattle off W's across the board.
I'll keep count.
But we'll see. Dehls, just keep count. We'll throw it on the screen for each one. So, week 1, 49ers at Steelers. This is, by the way, the Steelers 2023 record prediction. Week 1, 49ers at Steelers.
Steelers will win. Don't know what the 49ers quarterback is. I also think last year the Bears week 1.
So they're going to beat the team that went to the NFC Championship.
Part of it?
They're going to beat the team that went to the NFC Championship.
Week 1, my friend. Biggest toss-up of the season.
I want to know.
Browns at Steelers.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh taking that one at home.
Yeah, I see where this is going to go.
Split.
Yeah.
Split.
Maybe.
2-0.
We'll see.
Steelers at Raiders.
Steelers are going to take that one 3-0.
Steelers at Texans.
Steelers starting off 4-0.
Interesting. Okay.
Ravens at Steelers.
I think the Ravens take week 5. Last year they beat us at home. No, they didn't. I lied. They didn't.
Steelers at Rams.
No, he said Steelers beating Ravens.
Oh, you said
No, I have the Ravens being the Steelers.
Okay.
4-1.
Thank God.
Still first.
Steelers at Rams.
You're struggling with this one.
This Rams team is terrible. Look at that
It's
defense.
dog shit.
So you're thinking about this, but you ain't thinking about the
He
Niners.
didn't think about the Niners at all. He just Steelers win.
Right. I have a lot more respect for McVay.
And Kyle Shanahan? What are we doing?
I don't know. There's something wrong with John. John, you're really struggling with this one. You went through the Browns and the Ravens easily.
I'm trying to think.
I just
Will
think
this is a
Matthew Stafford
letdown
be
game?
healthy week 5?
Well, I just think they just got Stetson Bennett. That's why I think it so much.
That's a great point. I'll take the Rams taking this one, close one.
What the
4-2.
Jaguars at Steelers.
Let me get the Jaguars that one.
Okay, 4-3.
Titans at Steelers.
The Steelers will win at home for Tennessee.
5.
Packers at Steelers.
That's a tough one.
A lot of
first
home games.
Pickett. A lot of home games in the first half. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in this one.
6.
Steelers at Browns.
The split, right?
Split.
The Browns will win this one.
6-4.
Yep.
Steelers at Bengals.
Are you splitting with the Bengals too?
Did last year. I think we will split with the Bengals.
6-5.
I think we lose this one, though.
Yeah,
For
at
6-5.
Cincy.
Cardinals at Steelers.
Pittsburgh's taking this one.
7.
Patriots at Steelers.
Lost to them last year. I think this year would take care of business.
8-5.
Much better defense if Watt's healthy, especially.
Steelers at Colts.
That's a good one. Okay.
AR.
In Indianapolis. Is it 4 o'clock game?
You're asking a lot
It's
of questions.
TBD.
TBD?
Does that change?
Yeah, like, now you're asking.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in this one.
9 wins.
Bengals at Steelers.
This is the split, so you get this
Steelers
one.
will take this one.
10 wins.
So you have the Steelers splitting with every team in the AFC North.
I think they'll go 3-3 in the North.
This shit
Yeah.
is nuts. He has them
Pretty
winning 10 games.
Hey, is there any more games left, or is that
There's
it?
way more.
Steelers at
Say a couple more.
Seahawks.
We're 10.
Seahawks will win at home.
10 and 6. Yeah.
Now Steelers at Ravens. Last game of the
You
season.
get this one.
I had
They-
them losing before.
Yeah,
That's
you had
true.
them losing the one. Yeah.
Shit, I got Steelers going 11-6 then.
11-6.
You're nuts.
So they're beating the Ravens.
We won 9 games last year and just had the best draft in the NFL.
True.
Kenny Pickett going a year.
Best
two.
draft is a stretch.
And TJ Watt missed
Yeah.
half of
The Eagles
last year.
exist.
We're going to if TJ Watt's healthy, that's a superstar and the best edge rusher duo.
The Ravens
in the
got
NFL.
better. The Browns got better. The
Oh, that's
Bengals
true.
are still great.
The
Miami
Ravens
got
are
better.
also implementing a new offense with a new coordinator, so
Fair.
their ceiling for the regular season might be a little bit lower, but in the playoffs their ceiling will be higher. I look at Cleveland. I think those games will be toss-ups, and for the Bengals, I think we'll split with that. I mean, number one, we've upgraded our secondary, but we're enjoying Porter and Patrick Peterson. But at the same time, if TJ Watt is
Patrick
healthy
Peterson,
next year,
Christ.
I think the Steelers team should win 10 games.
So you're counting on an aging corner who's still good, but he's not the player he once was, and a rookie to come in and make an
And
impact.
TJ Watt. Don't forget that.
What do you think
TJ
of
Watt is
Patrick Peterson last year in Minnesota?
He was good.
Exactly.
He wasn't phenomenal though.
in a pretty rough.
Him
zone
and Cameron
defense
Sun
that
are
Donatell
the
was
same
running.
level of corner right
I
now.
think sounds better.
I would say Sun's probably a little bit better. Yeah, no, he is. But Joey Porter is going to be a great scheme fit, great for the AC North. And then I think offensively, too, if Najee's healthy, he was terrible the first half of last year, playing with like a metal rod in his like shoe. So if he and Watt are both healthy as the engines of each of the two sides of the ball, with Isaac Seumalo coming in, the offense line will be so much better. I think
You're welcome, by the way.
Oh,
give you
thanks,
Isaac.
appreciate it. He's got to stay healthy, though. That's the big question with the Steelers team. If Seumalo, Watt, and Harris all stay healthy, we can win 11 games.
Leave it to the Steelers fan to make the Steelers predictions.
I mean, do you win the division with 11 wins?
No, I think Cincinnati will get it. We'll come in second or third.
Interesting. You beat my Browns.
All these teams are going to win like
Yes.
11 plus games. Like, the
That's why I
Bengals
told you the
are-
other
count
day,
out
the
my
AFC
town.
North, most of them can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't
See you at
disagree.
the end route, buddy.
See,
My Browns are winning the division.
they haven't in my lifetime. So
I just have a tough time believing the Steelers can
Deshaun Watson.
be 3-3 in the division, having the worst quarterback in it by a
I
landslide.
mean, worst case, I feel like they go 2-4
I think they
though.
went 2
They're
and-
not, I don't, you know.
Yeah, because I think the
Not gonna go 1-5, I don't
Steelers
think.
from personnel perspective aren't as good as the Ravens, Browns,
I
or
agree.
Bengals, and then the quarterback is a major drop
They
off.
do
I
always
agree.
find a way to win, though.
They have probably the best coach.
So to play devil's advocate, he said 11-6. I think the Niners beat them.
I think so too.
I think the
That's fair.
Niners beat them. So that would be 10-7.
And you don't think they're going to go 3-3, so one of those games is an L.
Yes,
That'd be
so
9-8.
that'll be like
We'll
9-8.
sweep them.
And then maybe this is a toss up. I understand, but I would have the Packers over the Steelers.
Go either way.
But you know that's
Fair.
why I like Jordan Love.
You do like
I'm trying to
Jordan
say Steelers record last year in division.
think if you just Google it, might be.
So we were 3-3 last year in the AFC North, and we had a worse team.
Yeah.
How many games were those without Lamar Jackson on the Ravens?
Well, Lamar didn't play against us last year.
At all?
Zero. No, he hasn't played us since 2021.
Damn.
Well, he didn't
Well, I
play
mean,
last
him
year,
being hurt is
so-
not
This guy's
atypical
nuts.
at this point. I'm sorry, it's true.
I think you guys will be around that 10-win mark. I don't know if you get to 11. I think you guys would be one of the surprises of the NFL. With all due respect.
Absolutely. I don't think though that people give enough credit to this defense because when healthy, it is top 5, and they're going to churn the football in the ground game. They have so many weapons. The
You need Watt healthy for 17 games.
Oh
to be
yeah,
top 5.
no, but
You
if he
need Minka
plays
play all the
11 or
games.
12 games with Alex Highsmith getting this extension, I think Highsmith can be a number 1 outside linebacker with how much he's developed. And then you look at the weapons too, man. The only thing holding him back is Matt Canada, and then Kenny Pickett stagnating his development. But I'm expecting Pickett to be better this year. Also, keep in mind, Mitch was dog shit last year and started the first couple of games too. And we started off damn near 0-3 because of him.
the Jets.
So, exactly.
But Kenny Pickett came in that game and threw 3 picks.
And Pickett was better.
They both did.
Pickett was better than Mitch in that game, even though he threw a couple interceptions because you don't use context, and only one of them was really on him.
The first one, the Hail Mary.
That was on him, I would say.
No,
It wasn't the right
he
time.
had 2 of the interceptions were on him.
Right, but one hit Pat Freiermuth off the hands, and it was ricocheted into the air. And the last one was a Hail Mary. So
One hit him off the hands. Why? Because he tried to throw a ball into the flat. It was a stupid decision to throw it in the first place.
hit him in
Wasn't
the
the
hands.
best ball placement.
It was not the best ball placement, though. He probably should have threw it a little bit higher to get out of bounds. But even
He
still.
probably just should have put it in the dirt.
Yeah, he still looks better than Zach Wilson, who played in that game.
I mean, hey,
Oh, good. That's-
Zach Wilson was definitely better that game.
Oh, he was.
Well, he
that
was in
fourth
the
quarter
fourth
was
quarter.
insane.
That was the best game Zach Wilson played.
Wait, John,
Hey,
let me ask you a
you don't-
question.
don't debate with
Is
me.
Zach Wilson my starting quarterback?
He might be.
No, wait. Who's my starting quarterback, John?
Right now, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, right now.
Right now.
My quarterback's
Zach Wilson's
Aaron
gonna beat him out?
Rodgers.
Right.
So why are you talking about Zach Wilson?
Because he was your quarterback in that game, dude.
But that's not the quarterback I have right now.
John,
so
at
it's irrelevant.
the most optimistic view,
What's that?
what is Kenny Pickett in this league?
A top 12, top 10 quarterback. Kind of like a Dak Prescott, Derek Carr to me.
Okay, not great.
That's the absolute ceiling.
That's why I agree with him, because that's why I was like, most optimistic view. I don't see a world he gets into that top 7, top 8 range.
But he does have the intangible that I think Derek Carr may lack.
But Dak Prescott has.
And I'm not sure if Dak has it either, watching the last couple of years in the playoffs. I look at Pickett and his clutch gene. We saw it at Pitt, banging himself,
Saw in the
going
regular
that fifth
season.
year. And, I mean, this year he had 4 game winners last 5-6 weeks of the season. There's a moxie to him the way he carries himself. And I think that can translate late in games. And he's won so many 2-minute drills as a rookie. I know he's 24, so he's going to be turning 25 next month. But, man, Joe Burrow came in the NFL at 23. We'll see.
Kenny Pickett or Tua?
It's a great question. I mean, I don't trust Tua's health. But if we're talking about Tua at his peak, I would slightly lean Tua for now. Okay. This year, I think I'll lean Pickett.
All right.
It factor. Groundbreaking.
Hey, it matters.
That's what he has.
It matters. I don't know how much, but it's tough in that AFC to win
Joe
games.
Burrow has it.
Joe Burrow definitely has
He's
it.
also has like
Much better pocket presence.
Number 1
elite
pick.
level traits too.
Best college season ever.
Yes.
Are the Spurs the perfect team for Wemby? The Spurs won a draft lottery. Victor Wembanyama's going to the Spurs. We all know that. And this has some people saying maybe it might be rigged, right? Because there's some obvious Spurs connections. Tony Parker, one of the greatest Spurs ever, is from France. Boris Diaw from France. France has a big Spurs fandom. And Victor, he said, I woke up this morning and I thought this was the team I was going to. Maybe the NBA handed him a little something to keep his mouth shut and say, listen, this is where you're going. But ultimately, this is where he is going. And I can't think of a better spot for him. I would have loved Dallas. I had my top 5 preferred destinations. Number 1 was the Mavericks. Number 2 was the Spurs. The Mavericks were always unrealistic. The Spurs had a great chance to get him. And I look at this team and Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson are 2 players that can score 20 points per game, space the floor. Jeremy Sohan, I think, is going to be a Swiss Army knife in this league. Then Victor Wembanyama and the other young players they have, like Blake Wesley, Zach Collins, Malachi Branham. Those are some good role players, and they have $40 million in cap space. I think this team is on track to really surprise everybody. If Victor is as good as we think he's going to be early on, which is at least giving you 18-6 or 20-6 a night, maybe even 20-10 because of his size, but usually players of that size aren't the league's best rebounders. I think this team can push for a playing spot. I think they're that talented. And I like their pieces a lot, especially coached by Greg Popovich. I don't see how a team that was led by DeJounte Murray just 2 years ago was able to make a play-in push. With Victor now, they should make it.
Why?
Right.
Like, where was the okay.
I don't think they should rush the timeline.
Because why'd you just do that?
What?
You looked at me the whole time. You saw me smirking, and then you brought up the DeJounte stuff. Like, what's up?
I'm saying they were able to make a play-in push with DeJounte Murray.
The West is much better than what it was.
I mean, I think with Victor, he's generational. I mean, we're not talking about just a regular guy.
LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first year.
Team's not as good as this team right now.
Good point.
Who did the Cavs have outside of LeBron?
Ricky Davis?
Let's talk about Victor. I don't think the Spurs should pull what the Mavericks did with Luka, where is Victor Wembanyama a generational prospect? There's no doubt about it. But he also is raw. I don't think in the NBA is going to be this high-octane three-point shooter, which we saw early on in that G League game versus Scoot Henderson. He takes a lot of threes. I think what's going to come down to is Greg Popovich molding him into where the Spursian-type player is going to take a lot more mid-rangers and build his game off of there. Right now, he's a pretty limited passer. I mean, his turnover ratio was pretty poor this last year. He's going to have to build the right habits, playing more off the ball, an offense that won't entirely be built around him, though he will be the focal point. His biggest value, his asset right now, is going to be defensively. He's one of the greatest rim protectors I've ever seen. I mean, at 7'5", his recovery is something you probably have never seen before. He's got an 8-foot wingspan. He flips his hips so naturally. He's got nimble footwork, and all the while, he's got good instincts to anticipate stuff. It helps, obviously, when you're the biggest guy on the floor by a country mile. He's 3 or 4 inches taller than Joel Embiid, who's 7'2". With all that being said, I look at this Spurs team with 4 first-round picks coming in from the Hawks, 1 from the Celtics in 28. They've got another from the Raptors for one of the Jakob Poeltl trade. What it really does come down to is building a team around him with a better point guard. Trey Jones is a free agent. I don't think he's going to be the facilitator that Victor needs early on. And if I'm them this offseason with the $46 million we have in cap space, I'm not splurging on a Harden to make sure that in year 1 he's going to have that facilitator. I want to get another top 5 pick in next year's draft and then use some of that remaining cap space on a better point guard in the market. But I think the end goal right now, or the goal for this season by the end of this year, is getting Victor to develop as much as possible while saving enough cap space to have the flexibility when he's in year 2, year 3, and year 4 to then make that splash. But I don't think there's much pressure on this team to make some move right away. I think they should be patient here with this young core they have.
So they do have their own pick, Charlotte pick, and Toronto first-round pick.
Shouldn't they have Atlanta's pick right now?
I think that's 2025. Yeah, I'm talking about 2024. They have their own Charlotte, Toronto. Maybe this doesn't show. This is fans though, so maybe it doesn't show swaps. But it's Atlanta's 2025 and 2026 and 2027. Yeah, so maybe it shows more. Did you find it? It's not popping up.
What, their own picks?
No, the Atlanta. Were you trying to find if they had?
No, I wasn't trying. I was looking at the mock draft stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Rockets fans saying that Anthony Black over Amon Shedlane-Jal and Alcatraz.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're fucked, by the way, buddy.
That's wild, man.
Yeah. I agree with John. Unfortunately, John is wrong because the media is going to put an insane amount of pressure on this young man. They're going to put an insane amount of expectation. I mean, you saw Broussard and Nick Wright having a field. It's so insane. But speaking in here, in the nice, they were talking about if he's not at least KD or Hakeem.
No, Chris Broussard said if Victor Wembanyama is not Hakeem, or if he is Hakeem, Anthony Davis, or Kevin Durant,
disappointment.
He is a disappointment.
Nuts. Hakeem is like a top 10 player.
Bro has to be a top 2 player of all time.
Yeah, all right, whatever. But in here in the studio, we're very not over the
logical.
board. Yeah, somewhat logical. And I think there shouldn't be a lot of pressure on this young kid. He is generational, but like you said, he's a little bit raw. You know, he has to come in. He has to fit more to the NBA game. He has a lot of game to work on. And the Spurs don't have to rush anything. Like you mentioned it. Trey Jones, we were talking about this earlier. Trey Jones is a fine guy, but they do need somebody better at the point guard position. They do have Devin Vassell. They do have Keldon Johnson. They do have Malachi Branham. So they do have good players there already. They have a lot of draft capital, so a good amount where they can add more assets down the road. They have a lot of cap space. They have Greg Popovich. They actually have a good staff now that I was looking at it. So they have a good connection to get Victor to give Victor what he needs and to continue to make him better. I don't think just because he's generational, you have to put this insane amount of pressure. We've done it to players before, and I don't think we should do it to Victor. I didn't think we should do it to them before. It happened to Zion, happened to LeBron. It was so much insane pressure on them to be great right away. And sometimes greatness happens. It takes some time. You know, we've seen guys like Steph Curry blossom late. He turned generational. So sometimes it takes time. And I think Victor, you know, he landed in the right position because the Spurs – rigged enough have developed great bigs from David Robinson to Tim Duncan. So even LaMarcus Aldridge went there. He was really good. Boris Diaw went there. He was really good. So they've developed or aided these guys in developing their game, and I think that's something really important, especially the movement and the system that San Antonio likes to run. It's a lot of Europe-style offense, so I think that's really good for Victor. He could kind of come in, transition easily. But this is a slam dunk for San Antonio, slam dunk for Victor. You saw how excited he was to go to San Antonio. I think this works perfectly for him. It's the spot that he needed. You know, we talked about Charlotte, but their dysfunction in the front office and the players that they have may not be ideal. We talked about Houston, but the young players might rattle Victor's mindset, might put him in the wrong position. We talked about other teams, but San Antonio, with the players they got, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, keep their head on straight. They're kind of to the point. They work hard. They stay out the media. Trey Jones is another one that does that. Greg Popovich. These guys stay on the right track, and I think this is somewhere Victor should have wanted to go.
Actually, that video came up in my timeline today of if DeJounte Murray, if the Spurs, what was it? Spurs.
The Spurs out of the league.
Yeah, that shit came up today. I was crying watching that today.
Yeah, it's always funny to watch it.
Yeah, but no, this is a great spot for Wemby. I feel like I almost overlooked this spot because you just imagine like, oh, LaMelo and Wemby, Jalen Green and Wemby, right? You think about all of these potential landing spots, and like San Antonio is almost boring in a sense because you don't think of Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell and Trey Jones in the same light. I mean, as they should, as guys like LaMelo and Jalen Green who have a higher upside. But this is great because I think Wemby could just stay out of the way. San Antonio, a small market, and you're going to be paired with, you know, the best coach, one of the best coaches of all time. Right now, Popovich has been more or less unserious with the Spurs team after the dynasty left. Tim Duncan got old and all of those guys moved on. But now that he has a young team and all of the cap spaces John mentioned, the future draft assets, you could finally start looking at this Spurs team taking shape. And Victor Wembanyama is someone who's going to come in and automatically be a game changer. What they were desperately needed, and you could say this about damn near any team, but you need someone to change the franchise, right? As great or as high as you might be on a guy like Keldon Johnson or Devin Vassell, these are not guys that are going to come in and be able to carry you to the finals. And of course, you're not expecting that from Victor year one, but his ability to be 7'5" and play like a fucking guard and basically do anything you want on a basketball court is the type of player that could carry you to a championship. I know there's videos going out of Kenny Lofton being able to back him down the post and hitting layups on him and drawing fouls and all that shit. And there's going to be times during his rookie season where he doesn't look great. There's going to be times where he's going to get bullied. But more or less, that's just the nature of the NBA, right? We have, no matter who you are, you have these welcome to the NBA moments where it's like, oh shit, Pablo Prigioni just put up 15 on me. Like, what the fuck happened, right? There's just so many good players out there that Victor Wembanyama is not going to look great for 82 games for 48 minutes, and he's going to struggle. But for his long-term, I think, outlook on his career, this is a great spot for him where he could just focus on ball, be coached by one of the best, and just stay out the way.
I don't agree with the notion that the Spurs should just continue losing until they get another top player. Because, I mean, for one, Wemby said it after the Spurs won the lottery, is that he wants to win the championship as soon as possible. I understand you don't take that at face value, but the Spurs are in a situation where their roster is depleted of talent and they cannot be competitive. We've seen this team with DeJounte Murray, a similar group of guys, make the play-in tournament. So this supporting cast is capable of at least winning some games.
Being competitive.
And
if almost lost 50 games though.
So wait, so can I
if you prop in a player like Victor,
right,
and you don't have to get a James Harden in free agency, you don't have to get some big time name. Just get players that are veterans and can complement the rotation. I don't see why the Spurs shouldn't want to be as competitive as they can as soon as possible.
But you're saying, like, DeJounte is understandable, but the West is much better than what it was that year. There's about 10, 11 teams that can really compete this, like, in the West.
Okay, if you're going by that, then I want to find that out for myself.
Right.
I want my team. I want to put my team in the best position to win and find out if we stack up for ourselves. I don't want to go into the season saying this year is just to develop Wemby.
That part,
we're not trying to win. We want another top pick.
Here's the thing. they've only been tanking for one season. What you don't want to do is what the Mavericks did, where you shorten the timeline, and then the runway to contending is so abrupt and so short that you're almost staying the margin for error.
Did the Mavs do that, or was that just Luka being great?
They did that with Luka and KP, and by second, third season, he was expected to do that, and they had no lottery talent around.
But this is
with
the
Victor. I think you're right. You're on the right path. You want to bring the veterans, but what I was kind of getting at here is you don't want to take a page out of Dallas's playbook and not put more young talent around him.
I think you use Dallas a lot, and I don't think that's a fair example when it comes to this, because Dallas had a lot of miscues along the way that has put them in the current position they're at now. I don't think Dallas went wrong by not tanking and acquiring talent. You're basically saying that the Mavericks should have continued tanking so they would have had top picks to select at the top of the draft. That's not what I believe. In the same Luka draft, they drafted Jalen Brunson. They made a conference finals in Luka's fourth year. So 4 years in, they made a conference finals, and that was disrupted because they didn't bring Brunson back when they had multiple opportunities to re-sign him. How many teams right now in the NBA do we see are competitive and they lack that lottery talent? But it's great coaching, it's a player at the top you trust, and it's a bunch of complementary role players.
What young team right now lacks lottery talent and still is competitive?
The Miami Heat is a perfect example of that.
That's different.
Bam
they have a
Tyler.
superstar.
Yeah.
And Bam is
The
a
Milwaukee Bucks
lottery
are
talent.
the Milwaukee Bucks are a prime example of that.
That's a good one. That they also have a superstar. We're talking about a rookie coming in right now, and you're talking about he needs to, like, we're not saying go out there and outright lose, but there's no rush to be in the play, and there's no rush to make the playoffs. There's no rush
There's
to
no
be
rush.
successful.
I'm not saying there's a rush to,
Yeah.
but this team is good enough to do that.
I
we
don't.
agree.
It depends on
agree.
free agency. It depends on free
And
agency.
Because
so you should
heading
add in a center like Brooke Lopez, Miles Turner, or even a Grant Williams, like one of those thicker post defenders that Victor can play.
We'll have
the
to trade
four.
for Miles Turner.
Like, for example,
You have a first round pick.
Like, for example, did you expect the OKC Thunder to be in the play in this past season?
No way.
No.
I don't think I
Not a
did.
shot.
They exceeded expectations, and I don't think I view that as a negative. I don't look at that and say, wow, the OKC Thunder should have actually been bad, so they would have gotten a top 5 pick. I think that the season was successful. And it's not like the Spurs, this is the first time they've tanked this deliberately, but the last couple of years, I mean, this past draft, Jeremy Sohan, 9th pick, Malachi Brandon, 20th pick. They had a pick in the lottery in Sohan, and the year before, Josh Greenwood didn't pan out, but he was a 12th pick. The year before was Devin Vassell, the 11th pick. So with Vassell, Sohan, and Wemby, those are 3 lottery picks you have there, and Keldon Johnson is a borderline all-star level player. So I don't think this team lacks talent. And
No one's saying that.
and also, I know nobody's saying that, but I don't believe in the idea of trying to lose. Right. I don't think so. And I think the Mavericks caught themselves in a bad situation because they made a myriad of moves that have put them here. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs, there are more examples of teams that have a top star and their team is filled out by players that may have not been picked at the top of the draft. We saw in 2019 with the Raptors, it was Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Serge Ibaka, Norman Powell. All those guys were not lottery picks. Yeah. You know, we see it all the time. So that's why I just don't agree with the notion that the Spurs should continue tanking. I think this team can compete. They can make a play-in push. And if they don't make it because the West is so damn competitive, that's fine.
So win-win.
Exactly. But I don't agree with saying, you know what, let's not try to sign these quality free agents because we don't want to win as much as possible. I think year one, they should try to win as much as possible.
Well, I just don't think Harden's the best example of quality free agents. That's why.
I don't think he's going to be a target for them either. I don't. I think I would be fine with Trey Jones starting at point guard for them.
For this year, I agree. I don't think anyone's saying they should continue to tank, but I want you to keep in mind, from 2020 to 2022, they were trying to win in those years.
They went 34, 48, 33, and 39.
Like
32 and 39. They have not been good for 4 years.
This was the first year they tanked, like I mentioned. I agree with you. They got to make some moves in free agency to add some depth and quality pieces that fit around Luka. What I'm getting at is that while you don't have to tank, there's no pressure to win in year one. Year 2 and 3, it will start to become, all right, it start to take those steps to the plane. But year one is merely about Victor's development with Devin Vassell, Keldon, and Jeremy Sohan specifically along on him. You want to figure out what is Jeremy Shohan's potential? Can he be an all-star or just like a high-level role player?
It's not just them, though. It's Vassell, too, Johnson, Malachi Branham. Like, everybody is still young. Everybody has to continue to develop, work on their game. So, like I said, I get both points. You know, you're saying.
But I also think that with the Spurs, they didn't tank deliberately the last couple of years because I don't think there was a prospect as high as what we're seeing Victor being. Victor, of course, is the best prospect the last couple of generations, but Paolo Banchero was not this number one surefire superstar option. You draft him.
I didn't even think he was going to go number one.
Cade Cunningham was not that either. Those are great prospects, but we did not view those as franchise changing.
I do think you're giving Pop a little bit too much credit. I feel like they were trying to compete after losing Kawhi, and he wanted to prove he could win without him, and then realized the best way for me to win without Kawhi is by eventually hitting on this generational prospect. Like, out of spite, they wanted to win immediately when they weren't ready to with DeMar.
I feel like this year, like first couple months, they tried to compete. They just weren't good.
5-2 to start the season.
They just were garbage.
Not that talented.
Yeah, shit happens, you know.
Yeah, but I just don't think that, you know.
Talented too. We're sitting a lot of their guys like
Keldon, Vassell.
Vassell was hurt. They're sitting Keldon.
That's the bottom 5 roster.
Herder was there
West.
for a little bit.
But those are all pretty good complementary players. If you put in this, like this is a
now it is facts.
Franchise
altering. I don't think anyone's surprised they were a bad team this year, right? Like,
no, yeah. But those guys are complementary, really talented.
I mean, they pretty much have their starting lineup set, so it's about bringing in role players and vets. Because Trey Jones, outside of Trey Jones, Vassell, Johnson, Sohan, Victor will start. That's 4 out of 5.
Could we see Keldon Johnson get traded for a point guard? Like Jordan Poole?
A point guard, Jordan Poole?
I don't really view
I don't see Keldon in a I don't think Keldon's been on Golden State's radar at all.
No, I don't think I'm giving Pop any credit at all. I mean, I don't think I mentioned Pop once.
No,
and I think that in the Kawhi Leonard trade, I don't think it's Greg Popovich trying to prove he can win without Kawhi. I think it's him just not wanting to be a part of a losing organization.
That's fair too.
And he's just trying to be competitive. I think DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, you know,
it's just painful.
In theory, it was competitive
they
core.
Have the Bulls 2025 pick. I gotta go.
Unprotected?
Yes, I can't do this.
What's that 2028 Celtics pick?
I think it's like top 1 protected, dude. Brad Stevens.
This shit ain't even up here, dude.
Celtics Derek White. I'm pulling up right now.
I don't see it.
I think they start Zach Collins next year at the 5 with Victor at the 4. Or they just have Zach Collins come off the bench.
I would have Zach Collins come off the bench. I think Sohan is a better fit.
You're not up here, buddy. This is fan spell. Maybe fan spell's wrong. The outgoing is 2024 second to you guys.
What?
That's outgoing.
Yeah, we got it. We have the. Oh no, that's next year. We have like the 30th.
Okay, the Spurs. The Spurs have Atlanta's first round picks in 2025, 2026, and 2027.
Yep. Unprotected.
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah,
it says no protection.
It's a W.
That is a W.
Unless Atlanta's good again.
They could be in. They could have imploded by then.
Even if
50-50. It's really up in the air right now.
By the way, the Hawks are trending right now. You think it's 50-50, more like 70-30?
I don't know. I think they're pretty excited about how they looked against Boston. I think they'll try to retool.
Maybe go for a 7-game first round eggs next year?
No comment. We're Garland fans, bro. We can't really speak too much right now.
Right.
Now, in our mock draft.
5 games, you know.
In our mock draft, Riv.
Hey.
You selected for the Hornets. And you selected.
What's in your throat?
I need water.
And you selected Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson. And then talking about the Hornets right now, we're going to talk about what they should do. Should they go for best player available or should they draft for fit? On most people's boards, Scoot Henderson is BPA and Miller is the best fit.
Yeah.
Now, walk me through your thought process and why you think they should draft for fit instead of best player available and why you went with Miller.
Okay. So people have this conception that I think Brandon Miller is better than Scoot, and
love Scoot.
Yeah, and that's not really what I'm saying with the Charlotte pick. What we've seen in the NBA is we've seen double backcourts with 2 point guards not really be as successful as we want them to see. But what we've seen is a point guard surrounded by wings and defenders, that be the successful trend. And I think with LaMelo Ball, 6'7" point guard, can space the floor, great playmaker, great in transition. This is somebody, if you pair him with multiple wings that can defend and shoot the ball, this can be a really good team. And then you got to look at the roster. I mean, Terry Rozier's there. How are they going to get off of him? Gordon Hayward's there. They're probably going to be able to get off of him. P.J. Washington is solid. So I think Brandon, the mindset I went through with Brandon Miller is he wasn't the best player available, but he fit next to LaMelo for me the most. A guy who's good in the catch and shoot, good as a spot up, can defend, 6'10", 6'11", 6'9", whatever he is. He's pretty big. very mobile. I know the report recently just came out as we were starting the show, which kind of hurts what I'm saying, how he was out of shape. He didn't do well in the interviews, but this was before I even knew about that article. But I think what Miller provides for LaMelo is much better than what Scoot provides. And I know LaMelo can play off ball, but he's 6'7". You build a lineup of 6'7" and up with defenders, guys that can space the floor. I don't see an issue with that. I think that's really, really good, especially for Charlotte, who needs a change of scenario.
They definitely need a small forward. Kelly Oubre is going to be a free agent this summer. He was a decent fit for them, and it's kind of nuts that Terry Rozier is going to be under contract to 2026, making $26 million.
He's slow.
When he's really a six-man. But I actually have the exact opposite opinion, where Miller this year improved a lot at the rim as a finisher, where he was terrible the first month. Last couple, he was getting to about 59%, close to 60%, which is much better for Wayne. But there is a limitation to his game, I think, in getting to the cup consistently. And with LaMelo, it's much of the same, where he's more of a three-point shooter. Some of his shot selection is a little bit questionable. I think you need an injection in the transition, a spark that can get to the rim to pair alongside LaMelo. Where LaMelo is going to be one of the toughest shot makers in the league, one of the best three-point shooters, but he doesn't get to the rim a whole lot. He's more reliant on the floater game. I think the dynamic between him and Scoot in the backcourt, that could be the best backcourt in the league. And with LaMelo being 6'7" and Scoot being 6'2", built like a grown man with insane athletic tools, I'm pretty confident Steve Clifford can make him a good defender. The same way Dennis Smith Jr. this year went from a shitty defender in Dallas to I would call him an elite defender this year in Charlotte. I really think Scoot can be a high-level defender. He is my number 2 prospect in this class, and I do think we're kind of underselling his potential. I think he can be that one guard that's hyper-athletic with a 3-level scoring. If he can take that mid-range shot he's already developed at 18, 19 years old and extend that to 3-point, we're talking about top 3-point guard in the league here. I mean, his athletic tools, his burst, his last step, his acceleration, his body control, all of that is next level. The passing's underrated. My comp for him is De'Aaron Fox, but he's built like John Wall, and that's another comparison. Even Derrick Rose.
Wall was pretty big coming out.
I mean, Wall's similar size.
But with Brandon Miller, not only did he just improve, because you said he's limited. I don't know if he's limited, because you saw throughout the season, not only did he improve in his finishing at the rim, he improved in his playmaking. In games where he was being pretty much face guard and shut down offensively, he was still making plays offensively. He made defensive plays down the stretch late in games also. So he improved. And everything that they said he couldn't do throughout the season, he did. He improved it every single outside of March Madness.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
We're just throwing that away. We don't care.
I don't think you throw it away, but I value the 30-plus games prior to March Madness than March Madness. And I think with him improving every single month at pretty much everything that they said he couldn't do, I don't know about limitation. That shows you he works hard. He can improve his game. But the Scoot going too, I don't see a problem with that either. I just would prefer Brandon Miller in this situation. But Scoot, 6'2", athletic freak, can get to the cup at will.
Listen, I do want to add with Miller, I don't think enough people talk about while he was terrible in the tournament. In the last game of the SEC tournament, he did suffer a groin injury.
He was questionable.
And that context always gets left out. But what do you think about LaMelo and Brandon in the playoffs? Do you think that's a physical enough duo to actually win at the highest levels?
Physical enough. I can't answer that because they're both really, really young, and we haven't seen LaMelo. Unfortunately, we've seen LaMelo in 2 playing games, and it's not ideal.
Right.
It's not very exciting. I think with LaMelo and Brandon Miller, they're long, they're athletic. They can be able to bulk frame, but their game is, I get what you're saying, their game is more flashy, more finesse, less physical. With Scoot, it's more physically imposing.
And maybe more importantly, am I the only one that's worried about Brandon Miller going into Charlotte with that culture they have? I think Scoot Henderson can be the guy that changes the culture in Charlotte, which up until this point has been disastrous the last 5 years.
I didn't even think of that, to be honest. That's a good point.
I think it's different just because I don't think, looking at Miles Bridges, we should just cast this entire shadow on Charlotte. I mean, James Bucknight, listen, he probably just wasn't just as good coming out of college. And I think Steve Clifford, what he values as a coach is defense, and James Bucknight plays none of it. So I think it's unfair to paint Charlotte as this disaster when it was Miles Bridges got in trouble, and that's his own personal actions. We're seeing in Memphis right now, we're not calling them a bad organization, even though Jaz is doing his antics right now. I don't think it's fair to cast that on the organization. If I'm the Hornets, I go for best player available, not a best fit. And I think that's Scoot Henderson. I love Brandon Miller's game, but I'm still not sold on LaMelo Ball being this top 5 point guard in the league, top 3 point guard in the league. And I feel like a lot of his game is flashy. It lacks competitiveness and toughness. And Brandon Miller, I'm not sure if he has those type of qualities that Scoot has in terms of being competitive. I look at Charlotte and I like the two-guard duo. LaMelo Ball can easily play shooting guard. And in transition, when you have Scoot Henderson, LaMelo Ball's passing, I think that can be one of the best transition teams in the NBA. And the Hornets can't afford to go best player available. I think they just need an injection in talent. You have Scoot, you have Mark Williams, you have LaMelo Ball. If you get Scoot Henderson in there, I think you add another layer to that talent. And as talented as Miller is, I think Scoot just has a little bit more upside than him.
Did you say they can or can't afford to take the best player on the board?
They can't afford to take best fit.
Oh, they can't not.
They need talent.
Right?
That's the biggest issue. I think, this happens a lot of time, even in the NFL, where you have someone who's been hyped up for years, right? Like Bryce Young is a recent example, and Scoot too, where we've known for probably 2+ years at this point, Bryce Young is the best quarterback in the class. Scoot Henderson is a number 2 pick behind Victor. And then right when it's time to draft them, or a month before, everyone just looks at the flaws. Like, everyone fucking knew that Bryce Young was small. Everyone knew he was like 5'10" and like 190 pounds. And everyone knew that Scoot was the second best player, but now all of a sudden Brandon Miller comes and has a great season. And now it's like, oh, do you even take Scoot number 2 overall? And not that it's a direct comparison by any means, but you could also look at what the Warriors did with James Wiseman, where you had LaMelo Ball, and I think for the most part he was consensus 2 over Wiseman, but the Warriors like, damn, we already have Steph, we have Clay, and we really need a center, right? Like, we have the guard play, we have the shooting. Is there really a need to take LaMelo, number 2 overall? Now he has to come off the bench. How does that look? And not that it's a similar situation, because Scoot would, I think, start right away, because like you mentioned, they just need the talent. I think overall people just start to not overrate, but just get carried away with all of the negatives for one player like Scoot, and then hype up everything that could be with Brandon Miller or someone else. Scoot's a generational type prospect. He's someone, like you said, who could be a top 3 point guard in the league. And that's not saying Brandon Miller can't come in and be an all-star level player either, but I would rather take the chance on a guy that I'm more confident in, that could come in day one and contribute, especially when you have all the stuff that's going on with Brandon Miller, not just the off-the-court stuff, but being out of shape reportedly, having bad interviews reportedly. I think that's a pretty big red flag if you're trying to take a guy number 2 overall.
The Blazers have the 3rd overall pick, and it's fascinating what direction they're going to head in.
Fascinating.
Because there was a Twitter interaction that happened between Dame and a fan, and this fan said, "I'm muting everybody that's undervaluing the Blazers' number 3 pick and insisting on trading Dame. What's wrong with you all? You think we suffered this long to go out like that? Goodbye." Dame quoted and said, "If the fans want to trade me, start the petition and send it in." And that's led to a bunch of fan bases starting petitions, Blazers fan themselves. And Dame basically is just saying, like, I've been wanting to be in Portland for a decade now, but if the fans don't want me here, then maybe they want something different. I feel like this is a cop-out. I feel like he wants out of Portland. He's just not saying it directly, and he's trying to have a cop-out here. I look at the players available because the 3rd overall pick is going to be insanely valuable. What star player can Blazers get with that 3rd overall pick? The star players that could be available right now off the bat are ones that have shot their value, like Julius Randle and Karl Anthony Towns. Those players don't move the needle for the Blazers. And some other long shots could be a Jaylen Brown, and could be a Paul George with the Clippers if they want to blow that up this offseason. But realistically, there's no move the Blazers can make to be a top 6 team in the Western Conference. So I think at this point, they're doing themselves a disservice if Damian Lillard remains in Portland.
It's not even just them. It's a them and him problem. I think you mentioned names. The 3rd pick is more valuable than Cat. I'm sorry, especially with that big contract, the way Cat's career is projecting. The 3rd pick is far more valuable than Julius Randle. I don't even think we need to go too deep into that, especially with the way his playoff blunders look. Unfortunately, the 3rd pick for Paul George doesn't make sense. He's not going to give you 60 games a season. He's very injury prone. And he's 33 years old. You kind of don't want to limit yourself to a guy who's injury prone, 33 years old. Still a great player, but he's not going to give you those games plays that you need. The only feasible answer, the only answer that makes sense, if you're a Blazer GM, The only answer that makes sense to your organization is to trade Damian Lillard. You're going to get the most assets for Damian Lillard. If you trade the third pick, you're just going to get respect to Mikal Bridges, but you're going to get a Mikal Bridges-like player, and that's not moving the needle in the West to make you what you want to be, and that's a championship contender. If you trade Dame to a team like the Nets, to a team like Orlando, just hypothetically speaking, you can get a maybe not a heavy haul, but you can get a good enough haul where you can draft maybe another player in this draft, get picks for next year, picks after that, another young player, maybe take a flyer on a player like Ben Simmons, I don't know, but just to get off the contract. Like, you can get something better for trading Dame. You have Anthony Simons when his numbers without Dame are like 27 points per game. Like, it's just fucking ridiculous what he does without Dame. You have Shaedon Sharpe, who showed flashes of being an absolute star. You have Nasir Little there, who's still a good player, good young player. You have Chauncey Billups, a coach who you can bring in a new player, which he can learn under, who Scoot fits what Chauncey wants to run. He loves defense, and Scoot works hard on that end. So that is a player Chauncey can groom, he can fill with. Dame just, as great as Dame is, the ceiling has been up for this team, I feel like, but now it's really, the Blazers have never been in a position like this to where they can move off Dame so much easy. They have the 3rd overall pick in this draft. Even if you miss on Scoot, right, I think Amon is still a perfect fit with Chauncey Billups, a player who can defend Anthony Simons.
So Amon over Brandon Miller?
I'm just like giving examples. Like, even if you do miss out on Scoot, right, there, Amon is also another one who can defend. Brandon Miller's right there. You can have Anthony at the point guard, Sharpe at the 2 guard. You plug Brandon Miller right in. Whoever you bring back, you're bringing in another haul. Like, there's just too much to do with Dame and trading him. I think the ceiling is up for him here. I understand he's been arguing with people on Twitter. Bro, just ask out for a trade. You going back and forth, this, that, and the third. This team cannot win, and we've seen that for years now.
I think it's a realization. Dame has to know at some point, these guys can't build around me. They have the last 2 years. You've had top 7 picks the last 2 years.
Jeremy Grant.
The hourglass is emptying. Shit, I think it already is empty. And what the Blazers are doing is ruining what could be a great young core. Shaedon Sharpe is special, and as I said before, Anthony Simons is a star without Dame. And by not choosing a timeline, you're kind of wasting the opportunity of developing this young team with all the assets and all the increased draft odds by trading Dame. If they didn't have Dame on the team the last 2 years, could you imagine the picks they could have been getting? The same way the Spurs had to move DeJounte Murray to get the 1st overall pick so they can go from a 34 to a 20-win team, the Blazers need to do the same thing, right? I mean, you're going to pay Jeremy Grant $200 million this offseason so you can maybe be the 10th seed next year with Yusuf Nurkic still as your starting center because you don't have any resources to actually upgrade. That's a pretty big issue. And the Damian Lillard era has been special, and it's been sweet, but now it's starting to sour. And I don't know how a fan of the Portland Trail Blazers could look at this and be like, yeah, I'm down for this. Let's keep doing this. Next year, we'll get the 9th seed. Maybe when Dame's 35 years old, he can be the 8th. Dame's 33 years old. He's going to be 34 next year. At some point, you got to evaluate what your future is. And I just don't really have the energy to talk about it anymore.
Crying.
It's time to move on.
Didn't we say, I forgot what it was, maybe the end of the NBA regular season, we said we were going to stop having this conversation about Damian Lillard?
I think we all said last year to move him.
Yeah.
I think we all said last year.
I thought we had a topic. I forgot what happened. We had a topic in the last few months about Damian Lillard and basically the same conversation of like, we go through this shit every fucking year, every like 3 months. The trade deadline comes up, the end of the season. Like, there's always these talks about Damian Lillard and his future, and I think John just hit it right on the head. You have to pick a side, really. Like, it doesn't make sense if I'm the GM to move forward with Damian Lillard because I don't really see a world where you're going to trade the 3rd overall pick and get someone of that value. Like Riv said, you're not going to trade the 3rd pick to get Cat and pay him fucking $50-60 million. You're not going to trade the 3rd pick to get a Randall or Mikal Bridges. Like, none of those guys are going to be able to move the needle enough to make you a championship caliber team. And at this point in Damian Lillard's career, I know he does not want to make a move just to become a 1st-round playoff team that's likely going to be a 1st-round exit, or even at best a 2nd-round team. I know the West is pretty open, right? We saw the Lakers as a 7 seed, although they're better than a 7 seed, be able to make it to the Western Conference Finals. We see a 2 seed get bounced. So there's a lot of things that you probably didn't expect in this playoff run, and maybe the Blazers are looking at that. And I know there's a lot of teams probably looking at that saying like, hey, if we just get into the playoffs and we get the right matchup, maybe we can make the same run we're seeing the Lakers do, and we could get to the WCF. But in reality, it's not like that. It's an outlier where you have LeBron and AD on a team, and not everyone else is going to have that. So if I'm the Blazers GM, I'm looking for whatever team is going to be not desperate enough, but give me the most assets. I look at a team like the Knicks who think they're that one piece away, 1 star away to get over the top and be able to make an ECF run.
I don't even think the Knicks would trade for Dame.
No.
I don't even think. I don't think they would. I don't think they would. I don't think they will put the. I think the Knicks are far in a way removed from what they used to do. I don't think they're gonna put themselves in a tight position to trade everything for Dame.
Dame was a bad example because you have Jalen Brunson. But
even if they have a new regime.
I just think with Portland, it's run its course, and it's been a while since that's happened. I feel like the Blazers are done, and it's not only that they have the 3rd overall pick in this draft, they have the 24th pick from the Knicks as well from the Cam Reddish trade. Who, what if Derek Lively slips that far, which is possible? Right. You can now have either Scoot, Amon, or Miller, and then Lively, and now you fill 2 of your biggest needs at forward or point guard, and then center. So I think, and also the haul you'll get for Dame in any trade that you'll trade him to, who knows? And I know this is a long shot, but Orlando could be a sneaky situation where
I think I said Orlando.
They can trade for Dame, and I understand it's a team that is not competitive now, but you have Paolo, you have Franz.
It's a great setter.
You have role players.
You have wings around him that can defend.
And not only that, but they have the 6th and 11th overall pick in this draft. Maybe those can be needle movers with some other picks and a player, and that could get you Dame, and now you can accelerate your window to compete now.
You throw 6'11", one more, a player or two.
It's fun, but their window's not now.
Who?
Magic.
I mean, Dame will be 35 in 2 years, and Dame can bump that up a year. Realistically,
want to bump up this young core a year and kind of invest a lot of the
look at the landscape of the East. Respect to the Knicks; they're a good team. They just went to the second round with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Respect to Miami. Love Spo, love Bam, love Jimmy Butler. Limited talent. The Bucks, #1 seed, just lost in the first round. The Nets made the playoffs with Mikal Bridges. Well, I mean, Kevin Durant and Kyrie had a big upgrade, but they made the playoffs. They didn't win a game, but they'll be around. The Cleveland Cavaliers just got smoked out, as talented as they were. The East is in a crapshoot. Aside from the Celtics, which they have their nights, there's no legit consistent team.
Right, but I think the Magic's best course is developing and building around Paolo and not having him be a number 2 off of Dame. You want to realize his potential and have him maximize his ceiling.
1A, 1B vibes.
Yeah,
I'm sleeping on the 1A. They can play off each other. Hey, pick.
They can play off each other, and I think it would be a killer duo, but I think you want to put your eggs into one basket.
Yeah, I understand.
I think regardless, we're all saying you trade Dame and move with the youth movement. I don't know what's really stopping this Blazers
He doesn't want to fuck up his motto of run from the grind, and the Blazers are too committed to him.
Isn't this Twitter shit he's been doing today kind of...
He's probably being sarcastic and trolling.
I almost feel like it's like a soft launch of saying like, hey,
he
you
refuses
could trade me if you want.
And the thing with Dame, he doesn't realize nobody's going to criticize him for saying, I want out. You've done enough there.
I'm actually begging him to get out.
Yeah, it's happened. Like, you've been here for mad long. Yeah. It's been 10 years, bro. It's okay. We understand.
The only person that gets ridiculed is fucking KD because he's a free agent and goes to the Warriors.
Yeah,
no one's fucking looking at Donovan Mitchell. How can you leave the Jazz? You know what I mean? Like,
the only reason LeBron got criticized because he went to Miami to play with D Wade, and then it's different. Like, you can go, bro.
Unless you're a free agent joining the best team in the NBA or with another superstar.
D Wade didn't get criticized for leaving Miami late in his career. Like, Tony Parker, KG didn't get much backlash. Like, you're okay, bro.
Dame doesn't care about what fans think. I think he's
clearly does.
Well, here's the thing. I still have a long off season to think about this and troll fans. But I think Dame just likes living in Portland with his family. But number 2, his legacy internally, he wants he doesn't want the he does not want the what's the word I'm looking for here? The acceptance of fans. He doesn't want their approval. He wants to be the guy in Portland. That's something he values personally. Gets the team that draft.
But at one point, do you realize, as the guy in Portland, you want to win, but you have to look at yourself internally and look at the organization like this. They will never be able to give me what I want.
And if you love Portland that much, at what point do you say, I'm hurting this organization more than helping?
I'm hindering more than I'm actually
becoming a 32-win team, like you said, instead of a 20.
$50 million in my pocket. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm proud to Dame. He deserves that money. Oh, great. Even better. I'd love that he getting his money. But now you're hindering the team. The team cannot build a solid foundation for you.
Right.
And it's sometimes your blame.
There's 0 championship equity here.
And now Jeremy Grant wants what, 20 mil?
He wants 35.
I ignored that, though. I didn't think you were going to. Okay.
He wants more, maybe.
35?
He wants Tobias Harris money, bro. Good for him.
Nobody's getting that for a long time.
Do you think that James Harden goes back to Houston?
Yes. They certainly think it.
I don't know because they just got Doc out of there and he didn't like Doc too much.
So that shit made no sense. If you're gonna get Doc fired and then leave, that's some real nasty shit.
How I got the vibe from what has been going around is he wanted Doc out, but the way he said it, he wants a 4-year deal and he wants to be competitive and he's looking at his options. So if you want to be competitive, you want a 4-year deal, and you're looking at your options, I'm gonna be honest, Houston and Philly don't look like either options for what you want.
Philly's your better option of the two.
Yeah, but Philly, I don't think they're giving them a 4-year deal.
They shouldn't.
And I don't think Houston's going to be competitive. So you're kind of stuck in a limbo.
I don't think Houston should give them a 4-year deal.
But I think they will, though.
Because they're desperate?
Yeah, but I don't think they'll be competitive. So it's like no team can give you what you actually want, like everything you want. So it's like, I don't know. Like Harden's, and it's not many teams that can give you what you want. Detroit stinks. San Antonio,
so how is he getting to Phoenix with a 4-year deal?
Chris Paul's getting that guaranteed money. They said they'll give Chris Paul the guaranteed money.
Since Harden trade or something?
So, but do you think that if Harden does go to Houston, that they're shopping that 4th overall pick or they're drafting a player?
Definitely shopping.
You're speeding this up
because
unless Brandon falls.
Because Harden has said that he only wants to go to a team that's going to be competitive.
But he could just lie and be like, I think they really got a good squad. They got young players.
And he wants basketball freedom, too.
I understand that. What if Brandon Miller falls to 4? Harden can go there.
You think that's enough, though?
No.
Really move the needle for him, though?
I don't think anything's going to be
enough. He's going to go to Houston and just be like, I think it's a competitive spot. Who's stopping him from saying that?
Who brings you at 4? Who brings you anything for Harden to be competitive? For Houston, you still got to wait on Jalen Green. You still got to wait on Jabari Smith Jr. Sengun is coming. Yeah. You still got to wait. Tari Eason, you still got to wait on him to come. You know, he's coming, but you still got to wait. So it's like these are young players. Sorry, these are young players that need time before they come. I mean, all right. Oh. But these are young players that meme is gonna get me. But these are young players that need time before they are ready to perform at the highest level. So.
Yeah, just wait for their time to come, man.
Yeah, Pick a side meme is definitely gonna get me.
Yeah, that's clipped.
I'm fucked.
Because I understand it. I think they do have a talented young roster, but it kind of feels like James Harden's an oddball if he goes there.
I mean, any young team that wants to bring on Harden, because there's really realistically, how many teams give him a 4-year deal for the money he wants? I mean, you could count them on one hand, right? Realistically, there's
Rockets,
Magic,
maybe. I don't know if they want him.
Exactly, the teams that actually have the money and want James Harden is the Rockets. It's really the end of the list. Unless he wants to take less money, but then again, and go to the Phoenix like that report said. But I don't think he's going to take an MLE, it sounds like.
I think the Rockets are playing with fire, bringing him back now.
Yeah,
he wants basketball freedom. You don't know what this young team can be.
And Ime doesn't put up with bullshit. That was apparent early on in the Celtics season last year when he was butting heads with Tatum and JB and Smart. He's not going to come in, I don't think, and let Harden just do whatever the fuck he wants and, come into the season out of shape and the strip clubs and all of that. I don't think Ime's going to put up with that.
No, I don't think so either. Now, did you guys have any other takeaways from the draft lottery that we didn't cover? I know the Pistons fell to the 5th pick. Some bad luck there.
Yeah, that's
Do you
tough.
think that they now feel like nothing goes their way? Last year, 5th overall pick, Jaden Ivey.
Number 1 got hurt, but
Ivy looked good. Duran fell in their laps.
Yeah, facts. I mean, they make the best out of the worst situation. By the worst, I mean Duran, but
I mean, they fell as much as they could, but Cam Whitmore will be sitting right there for them. Yeah. And Cam Whitmore is an insanely talented and he has all the potential in the world to be a top 25 player, maybe more. I mean,
I'm here for it.
You're talking about when you took him, Ball or Dehls. I'm so glad you took him. That could be
you doubted me.
That could be a special pick, man. If he's starting to develop that 3-point shot to another level, I don't know if he's got a ceiling on his game, and that would be the last piece of them alongside Boyan on the
I'll
wings.
put you on.
Yeah, but I've been watching him a good amount.
I'm glad you said yeah. Thank you. Give him my credit.
Also, want to know, I feel bad for the Hornets. This is the 3rd time they've missed out on generational center prospect by 1 selection. I made that note. And there was also...
Wasn't one of them that went after their pick, though?
What do you mean?
That,
LaMelo fell in their lap.
And they were 2.
They got lucky with the LaMelo one.
No, that was not the year. I'm not talking about...
No, I'm just saying in general, though. Nah. Wiseman got picked. They got lucky with LaMelo.
They got lucky in the middle of the year, but they missed out on Dwight Howard.
Oh, did they?
Rebecca Okafor, who was a great college player, but
respect the man. He was okay.
Yeah, he wasn't Dwight.
I know.
And Michael won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he did. Michael was good.
They're probably filming themselves.
Anthony Davis goes 1. They take Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, New Jersey legend.
They did that themselves.
That guy's jersey in the back. And this year, they're going to have the option taking a Scooter Brandon Miller. But there's also one thing. This would have been so disgusting. The Wizards, Ryan Hammer, shout out to him, pick aside one time. He was making the point that they had a 53% chance getting the first overall pick when the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd lottery balls were announced. And it was up to, okay, what team's going to get the right code with their number being the first overall pick. And the Wizards had over a 50% chance to gain him. That would have been so hideous. Shout out to Ryan for that video.
No way.
Really? I didn't see that until he made it. It was a great point. Yeah, the lottery is a little bit more confusing to explain for me. But, yeah, they had a very good chance of gaining him. And luckily, for a franchise that's been so poorly run over the last couple of years, he won't be going there.
Yeah, you could tank all you want. You got a 14% chance. Like,
why'd you write thank you Chicago?
Oh, because you guys get on their pick.
You're shameless, man. What do you do with these Chicago jabs, man? What's up? Why do you hate the Bulls?
He hates you.
Does he?
I respect that. The franchise is doing everything they can to destroy what Michael Jordan built.
Well, he doesn't want to be.
Respects Michael Jordan. I mean, he can see why I don't want to be a fan. Do you see the shit that we do on a day-to-day basis?
It's an embarrassing franchise.
Lonzo, wait on.
It is an embarrassing franchise.
Lonzo hasn't played ball in 7,000 years. I don't know what he can do anymore.
Paul George thinks he's one of the most talented, 5 most talented players in the league.
I did see that.
I saw.
I understand what he meant.
I do too.
But he just, that was a little stretch. Yeah, I understand what he meant, though. He should have said he's
in the NBA. I'm not, so I won't say no.
He should have said, Lonzo can do everything by technicality. Mm-hmm. But talented is kind of crazy. He hasn't played.
Except
most talented point guard ever.
Yeah.
I am. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast. You guys can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.